Greetings everybody, it's time to go racing in the sprint challenge phase of the Porsche Carrera Cup of Brazil for the very last time in 2024. In a way, you're actually quite fortunate because the final round of the championship should have taken place over the course of the Sao Paulo Grand Prix weekend 2 weeks ago at Interlagos. Unfortunately, rain stopped play for the second of those races, which means that you now get to see it in glorious Motorsport TV vision once again. Hello everyone, Jake Sanson here with you once again for the final two races of the year for both the Sprint and Sport Challenge as well as the Carrera Cup battle itself. There are two championships within a championship and there are three classes within each championship as well. So there are 6 different battles. The only champion that has already been confirmed is the rookie champion, Israel Salmen, in Carrera Cup. There's nothing, unfortunately, that Gustavo Janon or Gustavo Fada can do to get the gap down to topple the order for Israel Salmen because the 2 worst scores over the course of the season are dropped. And as a result of that, even if Gustavo Janon were to take the full 18 points for the win in the Carrera Cup rookie campaign, the points that he would lose for the second worst result, which would be 7, would not be enough to catch up to Israel Salmen. So he has already been confirmed as the champion. For everybody else, the opening race of the weekend that you didn't get to see if you were watching in English language, if you were watching in Portuguese, then you would have been able to see it. But if you were watching in English, unfortunately, there was no broadcast, sadly, of the first race. So what we'll have to do is catch you up a little bit and tell you how that has all changed things. In the first race at the Formula One Lenovo Gran Premio de Sao Paulo, the first race saw Christian Hahn taking the victory ahead of the title contenders Marcel Müller and Miguel Paludo, which means that all Marcel Müller does need, essentially, from this race is to finish. And as long as he finishes the race, he will be champion. Miguel Paludo has to win with a 28-point score. He has to have a perfect run in order to win the championship. And even then, it's unlikely if Marcel Müller scores the points, because if he scores the points, he will have done enough to take the title his way. Müller was second, Paludo was third in that first race. Werner Neugebauer came home for 4th position ahead of Thiago Vivacqua and Alcy Feldman. And then Ryan Mascherello got the job done in the sport category by finishing 7th overall. Jeff Chiassi was 8th position, although he did actually pick up a 5-second time penalty for unsportsmanlike behavior against driver number 10, which of course was Thiago Vivacqua. So he ended up dropping behind him in the final reckoning rather than finishing ahead of him. And then, of course, we had Lucas Salas in 9th position ahead of Rodrigo Melo, and then Francisco Horta ahead of Lino Perez, Georges Frangoulis, Franco Giafoni, and Nelson Marcondes. The winning rookie, well, it's been the story of the season so far. Israel Salmen got the job done ahead of Gustavo Janon and Leonardo Sanchez. There's a real end-of-term atmosphere here at the Porsche Carrera Cup weekend at Interlagos. We've obviously had a rather rain-interrupted weekend at Sao Paulo for the Grand Prix, but we did manage to get one race in both Carrera and Challenge. So now, a couple of weeks later, and an opportunity for the teams and the drivers to rest a bit easy and get themselves ready for a real festival of racing this week, because we've got the 2 sprint races this afternoon, but then we've also got the endurance race on Saturday afternoon as well. So this is proper Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil week. I don't quite have any issues really with us running sprint races on a Wednesday and then having the endurance races on a Saturday. I think it's something that could go a long way, but obviously special circumstances on this particular occasion. Now, what we do need to tell you, of course, after what happened in the challenge race, quite an important one, the victory last time out going the way of Miguel Mariotti ahead of Antonello Bassani, who came home in 2nd place. Then Leonardo Herman from Caio Chaves, Caio Castro, Seba Malucelli, Gerson Campos, Giuliano Bertuccelli, and Vania Pontes from Lucas Locatelli. Now, that's quite significant because Miguel Mariotti was able to claim 3 points more than Antonella Bassani in the previous race. If she were to take the victory today, though, with Miguel Mariotti not scoring, then it would change quite dramatically the championship. So Antonella Bassani can still win the title if Mariotti does not score, or at least does not score well. So it's going to be a fascinating battle across both competitions. Porsche fever has completely engulfed the Interlagos circuit once again. Great to see everybody really soaking up the atmosphere and enjoying the lifestyle of being part of the Porsche makeup. Great to see everybody putting on a fantastic show. once you race in the Porsche Carrera Cup here in Brazil, it's not just the racing championship, it's a lifestyle choice. You bring the whole family. You get your friends, your sponsors, your commercial partners, your business relations, and everybody involved. It really is fun for everyone, from the youngest to the oldest. The glamour, the excitement, the elan, and the fantastic nature of living life as a Porsche driver is something that everybody here is soaking up. Drivers young and old really embrace being part of the culture. For some, it can lead to big things in their future careers. For others, this is a great way to continue their career as they move forward. Well, whilst there is an end-of-term atmosphere here at Interlagos, there's also championship titles to be won. Everybody is giving it everything they've got for one last time. At the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, everyone was very excited to see Lewis Hamilton go around the circuit in the famous McLaren MP48, running around the course in fantastic fashion with the Brazilian flag aloft, the car that took Ayrton Senna to his World Championship title in 1990. Then, of course, we had our opening races of the final weekend, which, of course, ended up having to be extended. A fabulous victory in the Carrera Cup race for Christian Hahn took him a little bit closer to the championship contenders. But Miguel Paludo and Marcel Muller finishing in second and third, they're the real championship contenders, and they're the ones that we need to be keeping an eye on going into this finale of a race. In the Sprint Challenge Brazil, as we mentioned, it was a fabulous victory for Miguel Mariotti, just 3 points further than Antonello Bassani, who came home in second place, and in third position for Leonardo Herrmann. But there's a lot more still to do. There is the championship points. 11 points difference between Miguel Paludo and Marcel Muller. Paludo has to win, with Marcel Muller not scoring, to change the face of this championship fight. Christian Hahn just a little way too far back, but Werner Neugebauer, Thiago Vivacqua and Peter Ferter certainly want to end their campaigns on a high note. Salas and Mascherano have the same amount of points, so there's a little bit of a friendly rivalry between those two, with Alci Felber and Francisco Horta hoping that they can turn the statistics in their favour in the final race of the year. We're going to have the final two races in this broadcast. The last race of the year in the Porsche Carrera Cup category, and then the Sprint Challenge will be the session after that. And that will be the end of the Sprint Challenge season for 2024. They'll have to do it all again, of course, for the 2025 campaign. But we are very excited about how it is going to continue. It'll be a fascinating challenge for all the drivers as they prepare themselves for more great action out on the circuit here. With 3 class championships in one over the course of these 2 races, you're going to get 6 different champions crowned. Only one of them has officially been crowned, namely Israel Salmen in the rookie class of the Carrera Cup. Everything else is still very much up for grabs. It'll be fascinating to see how the contenders work on that one, but it will be a very tricky end to the season, and we're going to see some very exciting battles for all of the contenders. Let's talk you through how it's going to look for this last race of the year as well. Werner Neugebauer, who is 4th in the championship, will actually be lining up for this race in pole position alongside Christian Hahn, with the championship contenders Marcel Muller and Miguel Paludo elevated down to the second row of the grid. Jeff Chiassi will be with Nelson Marcondes, and Yosemar Junior will be in his famous Senna helmet colours for the last time in 2024 alongside Brian Mascherano, the sports contender, who is 8th in the championship and also 8th on the starting grid. There is the Challenge Championship points going into this one. Miguel Mariotti has a decent point score over Antonello Bassani, but if Bassani takes the victory and Mariotti doesn't score in this last race of the season, then Bassani can become champion. Cherio Brasil, 3rd position ahead of Gerson Campos and Caio Castro, Seba Maruccelli, Caio Chavez, Leonardo Herrmann, Sonny Waiter, and Giuliano Bertuccelli will round out the top 10 for the time being. But there's still so much at stake in this championship. As I mentioned, Bassani can win this race, and if Mariotti doesn't score, or doesn't score well, then it's going to be very much Bassani's turn to become champion. A second position even would do it, but it is going to be very, very tight in the closing stages of this season. It would need to be a first, a second, or a third, with Mariotti not scoring, to turn the championship in the favour of Antonella Bassani, as the two lowest scores of the season do not count. She's had her difficulties this year as Antonella Bassani on the mechanical front. Not everything has been perfect and plain sailing for her. But a victory or even a podium with Miguel Mariotti not scoring can turn this championship around. It'll be fantastic to see how this all plays out. We talked a little bit about the starting lineup for the Carrera Cup race. The starting lineup in the challenge race couldn't be better for Antonella Bassani. She starts from pole position ahead of Miguel Mariotti. So as long as she goes on to win the race, then effectively everything else is not really in her control. But at least it gives her a good opportunity to move her way further forward if she gets the chance. Then we've got Christian Moore and Leonardo Herman on the second row from Celio Brazil, Matias Roque, Caio Chaves, Seba Malicelli, Caio Castro, and Sadak Leiter. So the contenders are making their way out onto the circuit and just starting themselves in, ready for the exciting show that is to come. We'll get to see more great battles out on the course. So let's see how these final two races of the year play out. And then don't forget, on Saturday, we have got ourselves the amazing qualifying sessions that will come. 4 different qualifying time session runs that will determine who is going to be on pole position for the endurance race. And then, of course, we get the endurance race itself on the Saturday. And it's a very long race, that one. We're going to have the potential for some teams running 2 drivers and some teams running 3 drivers. We'll talk more about that on Friday when we get to the qualifying session. For the moment, though, there are 6 champions to crown, and so far we've only done 1. Israel Salmen is going to be the rookie champion coming into this one, and that is confirmed. He cannot be caught. But for everything else, it's still very much on the rise, and everybody else still has a great opportunity. So let's see how the competitors will fare. As you can see, the weather forecast is positive, and it looks like it's going to be a dry race, even though it's a little bit overcast. It is November, after all. This is, as far as I'm aware, the penultimate major race week in Brazilian motorsport on this circuit this year. Of course, the finals of the Stock Car Pro Series will be taking place next month here. I'll be back in the commentary box for that as well. But this is 6 champions in one day to be crowned, although, of course, one of them, Israel Salmen, is already sorted. The other 5 are still to be figured out. So let's talk about who's in contention for those particular championships. In Carrera Cup, as we know, Marcel Müller just needs to finish the race in order to become champion ahead of Miguel Paludo. Even a victory for Paludo would not guarantee it. If Marcel Müller failed to score, then they would be dead level on points. It would go to count back, and based on the results so far this season, I think that would actually go the way of Marcel Müller. So it's not confirmed that Marcel Müller is the champion, but all he really has to do is finish the race, and then the championship is his. Christian Hahn is out of contention for the championship, sadly. But if the 2 major players do have a bad day at the office, then he could technically still climb his way to second in the points. He can't win the championship, but he could still be the runner-up. So there's still everything to play for Christian Hahn. Werner Neugebauer doesn't quite have that same luxury. In Carrera Cup Sport, Peter Verter is still locked in a very tight battle with Francisco Horta and Ryan Mascherello. So those 3 are still very much in contention. A victory for Francisco Horta would put him ahead of Peter Verter. And Ryan Mascherello still has a chance to overhaul his main rival as well. He's got to have a little bit of luck. But if Ryan Mascherello were to win the race, he would be champion. If Francisco Horta were to win the race, he could be champion. It's all very tight at the closing end of the season. And Francisco Horta would need an awful lot of luck to make it work his way. If Ryan Mascherano were to win the race, he would actually overtake Francisco Horta for second in the championship, no matter where Francisco Horta would finish. But Peter Ferter is certainly looking the most likely here to walk away with the championship very much in his favour. He has 117 to Francisco Horta on 108 and Ryan Mascherano on 106 when drop scores are taken into account. In Carrera Cup rookie, we already know that Israel Salmon is the champion. Gustavo Fara is unlikely to close in on the tally of Gustavo Janon. With drop scores taken into account, he's basically locked in a battle for third position between Edu Guedes and Bruno Campos. Antonella Bassani can win the championship in the Sprint Challenge race later on. If she wins the race and Mariotti doesn't score, or even if he comes home with a minimal points finish, it would be very, very tight to see how high up Mariotti could actually score. It would be a tough result for him. If he were to come home with 10 points and Antonella Bassani were to win the race, Mariotti would lose the championship by just 1 point. So he needs 11 points, really. Realistically, he needs 11 points or more to become champion. But again, if they were to tie for points on countback, it would go the way of Miguel Mariotti. So 11 points would do it, because even if they were to tie for points, it would be Mariotti who wins the championship. In Sprint Challenge Sport, Seba Malucelli is actually not leading the championship when drop scores are taken into account. Celio Brasil is, because he has 112 points and 2 non-finishes. But Seba Malucelli's disqualification has to count from his second round disqualification from Velocita. So that has to count to his score. So he's actually on countback when the drop scores are taken into account. He's actually 8 points behind Celio Brasil. So he really needs to make a big impact this weekend and come away with a victory here on this rather muggy looking Thursday. A victory would put him 18 points to the good, and that would obviously put him 10 points clear of Celio Brasil. But if Celio Brasil were to score 10 points today, then they would tie for points. And again, it would then come down to countback. And as far as I can tell, they each have a victory. So if Seba Malucelli were to get the win by winning the race and they were to tie for points, then he would become champion. Caio Chavez is third, Leonardo Herman is fourth in the points, and they're quite a considerable way ahead of Giuliano Bertuccelli and Matthias Roque. So realistically, the championship fight is between Celio Brasil and Seba Malucelli. But then in Sprint Challenge Rookie, Caio Chavez is already confirmed as the champion, in fact, in Sprint Challenge Rookie. So he cannot be caught. So we've got 2 rookie champions in Caio Chavez and Israel Salmen. So the rookies are already crowned. Nothing else is really sorted. Well, no, technically speaking, I say Israel Salmen isn't catchable, but he is. Because if he scores a no-point score, if he fails to finish and Gustavo Zanon takes the victory, then he could actually lose the championship there by 5 points. So indeed, only Caio Chavez is confirmed as the rookie champion in Sprint, in the Challenge Cup. But in the Carrera Cup, Israel Salman could still lose it to Gustavo Janon if Janon were to take the victory. So it's all looking pretty tight at the top, as 5 of these championships are still yet to be confirmed. So a very rare sight with Wednesday evening racing, or Wednesday afternoon racing here in Sao Paulo, I should say. But these competitors are very, very excited, and they are ready to show us what they can do. I'm really keen to see how this plays out. Werner Neugebauer lining up in pole position ahead of Christian Hahn. And then our 2 title protagonists, Marcel Muller and Miguel Peludo. With Marcel Muller all but champion, he needs a minor miracle for Miguel Peludo to take the championship realistically, as there is Ryan Mascherano with the Brazilian flag adorning his fantastic car. The only livery that's really more patriotic than that here at Sao Paulo is that of Yosemar Junior. Trust me, when you see his car, you will know exactly what I'm talking about, because his colour scheme is in the beautiful Ayrton Senna helmet colours. There is Werner Neugebauer leaving the pit lane to go to the grid. Pole position for car number 8. What an exciting opportunity for him to at least end the season as a race winner, if not a champion. And it's certainly looking very positive from his perspective. He has nothing really that can go too badly wrong for him. He hasn't got a championship to lose. He's not in the fight, but this is good preparation for him, for the coming weekend, because of course once again Werner Neugebauer will team up with the former Grand Prix driver Rubens Barrichello for the endurance race this coming weekend. So it'll be wonderful to see how it all plays out, because this is good preparation for him for that oncoming event. So as everybody gets themselves dialed in and ready for some good action, we're going to get to see some really exciting and very close quarters racing towards the tail end of the season here. These final 2 races. Really excited to see how it continues, but we're in a very solid position now for the end of the season, as all these contenders are in good stead and in good position. They will obviously have their same grid positions that they had from the previous race, so no major changes there. But what has changed, obviously, is the circuit conditions, because a couple of weeks have now elapsed since they set those times. So the way they go into the race could be completely different. So as all of the cars get themselves into position, we are now going to enjoy a bit of a rarity. Live motorsport on a Wednesday. So the cars now making their way then to their final grid positions. There is Marcos Regadas getting into his grid stop. He'll be starting from 12th on the grid and still very much hunting for a victory in the sport category. His main competition this time are Nelson Marcondes, Josimar Junior, Ryan Mascherello and Linu Perez. All 4 of those drivers starting ahead of him, but doesn't mean that Regadas doesn't have the potential to move his way further forward. So very exciting to see how it all continues. And there is Linu Perez getting himself ready. So let's see Linu Perez, what progress he can make from 9th position on the grid. He'll be lining up on the 5th row alongside Lucas Salas as they get themselves prepared. So once again, to remind everybody, these are the cancelled races from the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. So obviously the drivers will have wanted to have competed on the Sunday with an opportunity to go for the championship title in front of the Formula One crowd. They did race in front of the Formula One crowd on the Saturday, but they didn't get to really soak up the spoils on the Sunday on Grand Prix Day. So a fascinating scenario for all of the contenders. But we're really excited to see how everything continues on this particular occasion. So with all of the contenders now leaving the pits and making their way to their starting grid positions, we're going to be in for a very exciting race battle on the Interlagos circuit. This is a bit of a warm-up as well to the weekend to come, because on Friday we have qualifying, on Saturday we have the Endurance Challenge. In fact, you can already see the banners on the starting gantry are set up ready for the Endurance Challenge, and that race is going to be fantastic. You're going to get a real combination of the best racing talent from across Brazil. Some teams will run with two drivers, and others will run with 3. And the big names that you can look out for at the coming weekend, names that the majority of the motor racing world certainly would recognize. You've got the likes of Caio Collet, former Red Bull youngster, and now racing obviously here in Brazil more full time, along with Pedro Piquet, one of the many members of the Piquet racing family. You're also going to get to see Tony Kanaan get back behind the wheel of a racing car this coming weekend as he teams up with Carlos Campos. You'll also get to see the very talented and very popular Nelson Piquet Jr. He'll line up alongside Roman Zimkovic, who he coaches in Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil. Luis Razia is still racing in the world of Brazilian motorsport. He'll be beside Nelson Marcondes this weekend. But of course, one of the names that everybody will have come here to see will be Rubens Barrichello, who will once again team up with Werner Neugebauer, the man who starts from pole position here in the Sprint Challenge. We were just riding on board with his car there for a brief moment. But we'll also get a few other big names. Cesar Ramos, who of course is racing regularly in the Stock Car Pro Series. He'll be going up alongside Franco Giaffoni this coming weekend in the endurance category. And you'll also get to see another fantastic competitor from the world of Stock Car Pro, Rafael Suzuki. He teams up with the man he coaches, Lucas Salas. Ricardo Mauricio teams up with Pedro Boisel. And then FIFO and Duro Barrichello will actually team up to be a double act as well. Enzo Elias will also depart his regular Stock Car Pro car to team up with the man who is on the verge of becoming today's champion, this year's champion for the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil, Marcel Müller. Well, we'll get to see all sorts of things in the endurance race this coming weekend as well, including the likes of Gabriel Casagrancha teaming up with Alcifel Benito in the Sprint Challenge, in the Endurance Challenge rookie categories. You'll also see an all-female team, and this time there are not 2 drivers in the team, there are 3, because Antonella Bassani and the X Games Red Bull athlete Letizia Buffoni are actually being joined in the lineup by Cecilia Rebello. Now that is a great lineup, because Cecilia Rebello has just finished a race-winning campaign in F4 Brazil. So stepping up alongside Letizia Buffoni and Antonella Bassani, they should have a really successful campaign. And only really Letizia Buffoni could be said to be a slight weak link in the chain, but she's enjoying life as a racing driver, taking time out of her X Games program. And great to see her continuing to make progress as she continues in her motor racing campaign. Now, who else are you likely to see over the course of the weekend? Well, one man you're not likely to see, who we did get to watch out on the course earlier in the season, was Antonio Felix da Costa. Reason for that, of course, is because his FIA Formula E Championship campaign is set to get underway very soon indeed with Porsche. And so he does not have time in his busy schedule to return to Porsche Endurance Brazil. He was there earlier in the season, of course, at Estoril, when we had that fantastic race in the wet, dry conditions over the course of those 2 weekends. But on this occasion, Antonio Felix da Costa sadly will not be able to return to the world of Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil, although hopefully we'll see him again in 2025. So there is Christian Hahn in the Blau Motorsport Porsche. That car will be starting second on the grid alongside Werner Neugebauer. Rolling start, of course, in the world of Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil. And just to your near side right on the second row of that grid, you should be able to make out there Yosemar Junior's car, bedecked in the brilliant colour scheme of Ayrton Senna's helmet. So the competitors getting themselves into their positions. I think it's now just a case of the last couple of crossing of the T's and dotting of the I's. We should get the Brazilian national anthem, of course, as well. And then we'll get ourselves into the action once again. There's a man who would have liked to have been in the fight for this championship, Christian Hahn, but he hasn't quite been able to put himself into the position over the course of the entire season to make that happen. But otherwise, it's been a very steady year. There is the battle to come on the starting grid. A couple of drivers still chatting away there. I think one of them was the 41. Now that would be, I think it might actually be the 51 we just saw there. He's for Salmen getting ready. There is a nice pair of drivers there. Lineu Perez shaking hands with Ryan Mascherello. Ready for a fair fight for the Carrera Cup Sport category. Now that is a championship fight that is still very much up for grabs, and Lineu Perez can play a real role in settling that championship today, or making it all change up. Just a reminder to everybody that when the racing is this close and the championships are on the line, all of the championship ramifications are very much provisional. We've already had a very busy week for sewing up championships. In this week alone, in the commentary box, it's been a very busy one for me. Super Formula, we saw the champion crowned at the weekend just gone over in Japan. The very talented Sho Tsuboi becoming champion for Toyota's Tom's crew. And then we had 2 busy days in Barcelona for the F4 Spanish Championship, and the Euro Cup 3 Championship, with titles being won by Mattia Colnaghi and Javier Segura, respectfully. But now it's time to crown 5 more champions. We know, of course, that Caio Chavez will not be catchable in the Sprint Challenge rookie grid. That'll be in the race that comes up after this one. But this is where we get to crown 3 champions in Carrera Cup, in Carrera Cup Sport, and in Carrera Cup Rookie. And all 3 categories are still to be decided, although in reality, all Marcel Müller has to do to win the championship is essentially win this race. Well, he doesn't even have to win the race, to be fair. It's all on Miguel Paludo. If Paludo wins, then all Marcel Müller actually has to do is finish, and he will be the champion. He doesn't really have to have too much worry about pressure or anything like that. But if they were to tie on points, then on countback, the championship would go the way of Marcel Müller. So with the contenders now positioning themselves, ready for the start, we have the board display up on the main part of the starting grid, as the contenders are now lining up in position, ready for the final 2 races, one in Carrera Cup, one in the Carrera Cup Sprint Challenge. And these final 2 races of the season will finally give us the champions that we've been waiting all season to crown. We may have had to wait a little bit longer to crown the Carrera Cup Sprint Challenge categories, but now is the time of reckoning. And in 3 days' time, of course, we get to crown the Endurance Challenge champions as well. They only get 3 weekends over the course of the year, don't forget. They've had a very interesting time of it, with races going on in Portugal and in Argentina, but now they finally get to finish the season in Brazil on this very circuit, this very week. Christian Hahn, second on the starting grid, took the first race victory about 10 days ago over the course of the Sao Paulo Grand Prix weekend. I think it might actually have been 11 days ago, if my maths is correct. Yes, it is 11 days ago, because the first race took place on the Saturday of the weekend. This is the race that would have taken place on the Sunday morning before the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, but given the adverse weather conditions, they had to change the schedule rather dramatically so that qualifying could take place on the session that should have taken place for the second race of the Porsche Carrera Cup. And so they decided to delay the races to today, which is great news for international fans, because you actually get to see them. Race 2 of the Porsche Carrera Cup final weekend of Brazil, and the Sprint Challenge Brazil to be decided in the race after this one. Jake Sanson in the commentary box, gearing up ready for another exciting battle. And Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil has a reputation for being slightly hairy, and this is definitely going to be one of those days. The mechanics are clearing the grid, so we are ready for our rolling lap. One final spit and polish and a check of the seatbelts for Christian Hahn, and then he will be off and away. So here we are, ready for the second race on this fantastic Autodromo José Carlos Pache, named after the very late, very tragic racing driver Carlos Pache, who was a Grand Prix winner in Formula 1. Cool conditions, ambient temperature 18 degrees Celsius, a humidity of 81%. This is not going to be an easy race to get right. 25 minutes plus the additional lap. So it will be a fantastic race battle for all of the contenders, with 3 championships to crown in Carrera Cup, in Carrera, in Sprint, in Sport, sorry. So in Carrera, in Sport, and in Rookie, all 3 champions will be crowned from this race. And for Werner Neugebauer in pole position, a lot of pressure. He wants to end the year ahead of Christian Hahn if he can. That's the only man, realistically, he can beat in this fantastic battle. The 1 minute board goes up, and with 1 minute to go, all the drivers will switch on the engines, and then they will follow in pursuit of the Porsche safety car. And for those who are wondering how long it's going to take between the 2 races, well, it's a bit of a brief blip between the 2. They don't line up on the grid the same way they do in Sprint Challenge. They leave the pit lane in grid order after this race is done. As soon as the final podium ceremony is completed, we go straight into the rolling lap for the Sprint Challenge race after this. The safety car is set off in pursuit. And so now Werner Neugebauer will get himself in behind. Christian Hahn second on the grid, then Marcel Müller, and Miguel Beludo. We are ready for the battle one last time in 2024 as the contenders will go around this Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache circuit for 25 minutes plus the additional lap. And at the end of this race, we're going to have 3 worthy champions. So as the drivers work their way through the Senna S, the grid for this one is looking to be pretty exciting. Neither of the championship contenders in Carrera Cup are on the front row of the grid. Let's talk you through the starting lineup. Werner Neugebauer and Christian Hahn lining up together on the front row of the grid. The 2 men battling for 3rd in the championship. The title protagonists, Marcel Müller and Miguel Beludo. Müller has 1 hand on the trophy. Jeff Chiassi is alongside Nelson Marcondes on the 3rd row of the grid. Row 4 sees Josimar Junior and Ryan Mascherano in Senna and Brazil colours, respectively. Nino Perez is alongside Lucas Salas to round out the top 10. And behind them, more firepower. Thiago Vivacqua alongside Marcos Regadas, hoping to fight for the sport victory. Next up, it's Rodrigo Melo alongside Israel Salmen, 1 step away from becoming rookie champion. Then it's Francisco Horta alongside Peter Verter, 2 men who could have a big part to play in the sport category title. Nelson Monteiro is alongside Alce Feldman, hoping that the Tag Heuer Porsche can storm up from 18th. Then it's Gustavo Farah and Paulo Souza, 2 men fighting for the rookie victory. Behind them, it'll be Carlos Campos alongside Bruno Campos. Sport versus rookie, no relation. Then on the 12th row of the grid, it's Edu Guedes alongside the very talented Leo Sanchez in his UBS car. Then Marco Pisani lining up alongside Pedro Aguar as they finish up the 13th row of the grid. 2 formation laps of the course in Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil, as these Michelin tyres do need a little bit of work to warm up. And it is going to be a fascinating battle for all of the contenders. Really excited to see how things will play. High humidity, low ambient, which means low track temperature as well. This should be a really riveting race. We should see some fascinating duels as the safety car runs them through, on board with Werner Neugebauer from pole position, hoping that this is a race that very much goes his way. We could see a really entertaining battle between the contenders here, but it's all going to come down to who gets the most of the starting race position. And that run to the first corner can be tricky at the best of times in these Porsche Carrera Cup cars. You've got to remember that they're very rear heavy, these cars. Brake bias is what makes a lot of difference in this particular category. And if you thought that the Porsche Carrera Cup has a tendency to be sometimes a little bit dull and lifeless in some categories, it certainly isn't in Brazil. My goodness me, these guys give it full guns blazing every time they go to the circuit. I can't recall a single dull race in Porsche Carrera Cup this year. So now we're about to see who is going to claim the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil title. Will it be Marcel Müller or will it be Miguel Beludo? And of course, don't forget, we'll also be crowning the sport and rookie titles at the same time. They get into their 2 tram lines as the pace car puts them into position. They've just got to be careful and mindful on the start. Fortunately, the field is holding everybody up enough so that Pedro Aguar can take up his position at the back of the grid. He's going to be wanting to charge his way through from the tail end. Do not expect him to be staying where he is for long. The cars will come off Junsao along the arquibancadas, and then they will work their way to the Senna S for the first time. A fantastic race circuit with great battles, always guaranteed on this circuit. The safety car is ready to peel off. We're in our 2 rows, and it's going to be Werner Neugebauer to the inside line. Christian Hahn in second. The championship protagonists on the 2nd row of the grid. When the lights go out, we'll be under starters' orders. We're racing at Interlagos, and it's a great charge forward from Werner Neugebauer. Christian Hahn has gone alongside. Watch out for Marcel Müller, though. He's going to try and dive up the inside line. He's not going to wait around. He's ahead of Miguel Beludo. That was important. Ryan Mascherano trying to get a good run off the far side as well. Trying to tuck in for P6 as somebody goes off the road on the way through the exit of the Senna S. But Marcel Müller has found himself in 3rd position. That's perfect, ahead of Miguel Beludo. He was already looking good for the championship. Now he's looking pretty much quids in Up on the inside, that is Jeff Gyasi trying to get into 4th position. That really will put Miguel Paludo's nose out of joint. He doesn't want Gyasi to get up the inside, but Gyasi is still there to his left. They're through the second part of the course, and they're running wide and hitting the damp patch on the exit. And there's cars going off all over the place. In the background, a couple of drivers hitting the damp patch. And Jeff Gyasi not able to hold on from Paludo. Paludo holds on to 4th position. We've got a couple of spinners further back down the field. And we'll need to see if everybody keeps going or whether we're going to have some difficulty. At the moment, I'm not seeing any need for safety car. So it looks as though people have spun off but managed to get going again. That's Brian Mascherello at the front of the queue as Yosemar Junior goes wheel to wheel with Lucas Salas. Salas on the inside. Junior in the Senna colours around the outside, paying tribute to the late great Ayrton Senna, 30 years since his tragic passing. On the inside goes Lucas Salas, and that looks like he's going to be joined in there as well by Marcos Regadas, I think that is. So immediately some good starts to this race, and Yosemar Junior runs side by side, still having a very good race of it as they continue to toe the line up to the first corner, side by side. It's going to be 3 wide as here comes Nelson Marcondes, getting himself into the mix as well. Nelson Marcondes trying to work his way through. Excellent performance. And he gets through to the inside of Yosemar Junior, but he can't do anything about that particular run. So I'm afraid that changes nothing as they continue to make good work. Now we're going to see a replay of what happened on the first lap. Oh dear. Big spin there from the 77. That's Francisco Horta. Now it looks as though everybody avoided him, and we've certainly not needed a safety car. So that is very good news at this point in proceedings. So excellent work so far. Now the field trying to work its way up the hill as they go wheel to wheel again. Yosemar Junior going to need to do some work here to cover off Nelson Monteiro. So Nelson Monteiro trying to make his way through on the inside line. Not looking particularly favourable for him there. Trying to get his move on the inside line. So still the battles continue on. But it will be very tricky to see who's going to get the best of this. Monteiro looking particularly hungry here behind Yosemar Junior. As up the inside, that's going to be Salas, getting his go side by side with Lino Perez. Perez is going to hold this to the far side, but it's not going to be enough. Lucas Salas is going to get through. So a very neat overtake there indeed from Lucas Salas as Yosemar Junior puts Nelson Monteiro under some more pressure, but he's going backwards down the field. He just doesn't seem to have the grip at this phase in the race. He's going to be on the slipstream though of Nelson Monteiro, so he can have another try into the first corner, but Monteiro's going to send him to the right side. They're going to go wheel to wheel into the braking zone. Can Yosemar Junior hold it round the far side? No, he's not able to do that. He has to give him another go. Meanwhile, behind them, it's all guns blazing because that's Carlos Campos and the Tag Heuer Porsche of Elsie Feldman. So Elsie Feldman fancies his chances to move forward, and Israel Salman's getting in the mix there as well. He doesn't want to get himself in hot water. He's got the rookie championship to confirm. So Israel Salman trying to go around the outside of Elsie Feldman, but he doesn't need to overtake him. He just needs to stick with him. Feldman, meanwhile, is going wheel to wheel with Carlos Campos. So they are continuing to make good work of it. Let's see how the battles continue. 20 minutes, roughly, plus a little bit of change. Oh, a bit of a run wide there from Elsie Feldman. But can he hold on to it? So Elsie Feldman now diving back up the inside of Israel Salman. Salman being very wise there, just letting him go. Look, I'm not fighting you for the championship. I want to win the rookie crown. That'll do me. And is that Paludo in front of Muller? It is. So Miguel Paludo's got ahead of Marcel Muller somewhere. Now that is critical for the championship, but Marcel Muller still looking okay to win the championship. All he's got to do is finish in 5th place because Miguel Paludo is not looking to win this one. 3rd position. Oh, big slide. There's a big problem. Problem for Marcel Muller. He's going to come into the pits. I think he's got a puncture. Marcel Muller with a puncture, and this could cause all sorts of problems for him in the championship. That is devastating for Marcel Muller. For Miguel Paludo, he's now got to step on it and catch up to these two, Werner Neugebauer and Christian Hahn. So Marcel Muller in the championship-winning race has got a puncture. Let's see what happened again. It just disintegrates on him. Now, he's very lucky, A, that he saved it, and B, that it went on the way down towards the pit straight. So he's not going to lose anywhere near as much time as he would have done. Oh, and that's a retirement. So that is game over, I'm afraid, for Carlos Campos. Now that's going to help out Marcel Müller, because that will probably trigger the safety car. Because although he's pulled off the circuit, he is still in a dangerous position just off to the edge of the center S. So I have a feeling that that is going to be a safety car. What's this a replay of? Oh, that's another issue. I'm afraid that's all gone very wrong indeed for Leonardo Sanchez. So Leonardo Sanchez has had a spin and damaged his front splitter. I don't think he carried on, actually. I think he stayed where he was. So now we've got 3 drivers in dire straits within seconds of each other. Leonardo Sanchez, and we've also got problems there, of course, for Carlos Campos, and a pit stop for a puncture for Marcel Müller. And there is an incident under investigation with Francisco Horta. So that is the spin on the first lap. That's going to be investigated. There's Marcel Müller getting back out of the pits with wheels on his wagon, and there's the safety car board. So Marcel Müller is a very lucky man. But he's going to have to work hard to get himself back up the order. Fortunately for him, he only has to score a few points, and he will be the champion. But that certainly doesn't take the pressure off. He certainly didn't need that in the race where he became champion. This is Alsif Feldman getting on the inside. I think, was there contact between them that caused the retirement? Or was Carlos Campos already breaking down? Very hard to tell from that particular camera angle. So we don't really have any information about that one. As into the pits comes Leonardo Sanchez after his spin. Look at the damage to the front splitter. That is a very expensive moment for a Porsche. Back on the circuit itself, we're under safety car conditions. So this is great news for Miguel Paludo. It's also great news for Marcel Müller, because Paludo, having got into 3rd position, now has no time to gain on Werner Neugebauer and Christian Hahn, because they're directly in front of him, and that's Leonardo Sanchez being wheeled back into the garage. His race is over. Very unfortunate indeed for him, but kind of predictable, it has to be said. Wasn't really expecting anything less than a difficult day at the office as soon as we saw that the car was snapping away from him on what seems to be a fairly reasonable moment. Let's have another look again at the Marcel Müller puncture. How lucky was he to save that? That could have been a big spin into the wall and it could have been game over. But he manages to catch the car and bring it back into the pits. That is a very, very fortuitous driver. Marcel Müller, the mother of all saves when it mattered. So we're under safety car conditions, as we pointed out, as we wait for this particular car, Carlos Campos, to be recovered. And that recovery is obviously going to trigger the restart. And once we get into the restart again, we'll have a much clearer indication as to the lay of the land. But the battles are definitely going to be raging on the restart. There's Werner Neugebauer. We're on board with him. That's the safety car in front of us. And he certainly doesn't have to do too much stressing at this particular point. It all looks relatively straightforward for the moment. But he certainly doesn't have to put too much pressure on himself. It does look relatively straightforward at the moment. Now, what are we seeing a replay of this time? This is the start. So we get to analyse this a little bit. And it has been a pretty exciting one. Miguel Paludo losing out initially to Marcel Müller, so fair play to him for getting that back again. He really had to work for it, but it wasn't particularly clear-cut. It wasn't very easy to tell how that was going to play out. He had to really galvanise himself in the opening stint to pick up the pieces and get that back. Not the easiest of circumstances, but it's very hard to hold off the charge of Miguel Paludo once he's got his dander up. Great run through the first couple of corners from Miguel Paludo. He knew that Marcel Müller was going to go, so he just let it happen. But Jeff Gyasi was giving him all sorts of pressure, and somehow he didn't let him budge. Any other driver probably would have let him have that. So let's have a look at the championship as it stands. Marcel Müller still looking good, but this is where Miguel Paludo is in trouble because he needs to really gain here. 3rd position is not going to be enough. Hahn is going to get into 2nd. Neugebauer is going to get into 3rd. Marcel Müller is pretty much guaranteed the championship. All he's got to do is finish the race. But it's Miguel Paludo who needs to get himself back into a decent position or he will drop to 4th position in the points rankings. So it's not all ideal at the moment. There are still problems. And it looks like we're about to go back to racing conditions again. So let's see how it all plays out once more. As we go back to green flag conditions, everybody's going to be hunting for a decent run. And look at Christian Hahn. He's made a good restart behind Werner Neugebauer. He's going to be vulnerable into turn 1. Neugebauer hasn't really timed this as well as he might. Miguel Paluda is going to be under pressure from Jeff Gyasi on the restart as well. It's green, 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 green as we get back into the action again. So charging down the straight, up to the first corner. Gyasi's going to go long because that's where Paludo's going to place him. But Paluda could really... Oh, bit of a run wide into turn 1. That's Vivacqua, I think, going wide. No, my apologies. That is Lucas Salas getting it out wide, but he manages to get it going again. There is Thiago Vivacqua, currently now running in P5 after all that. Then Mascherano, then Regadas. Then it should be Lucas Salas in front of Linho Perez, but Perez has got ahead, and so too has Peter Fatera and Nelson Marcondes side by side into the corner as Ryan Mascherano manages to get the job done there. Yosimar Junior is going to lose out there on the exit to Nelson Monteiro. Everybody having a really tight race of it as they run up the hill again. Still great battles everywhere you look. Trying to get up to the top of the hill and hoping for a tight run. That's going to be a big charge on the inside. Alcif Feldman almost dives in on the inside of Yosimar Junior and then backs out of it just in the nick of time. Meanwhile, look in the background. You'll just make out Marcel Muller's car. So Marcel Muller is getting himself back into the contest again, but he's got a lot of overtaking to do. But he's still looking good for the championship, even despite that puncture. Just because how strong his score has been over the course of the consistency of the year. As Alcif Feldman again makes his run there on the inside of Yosimar Junior, and this time he gets him. So this time he's made the overtake. Right, Christian Hahn pushing hard on Werner Neugebauer. Neugebauer is going to have one eye on the rear mirror, and of course one eye through the windshield. Christian Hahn diving forward, but Werner Neugebauer cutting across. This is his best chance of sealing second in the championship, going for the victory. And Miguel Paludo, who wants to win the championship, it's all pretty much sewn up for Marcel Muller. All he's got to do is finish, and that'll get the job done nicely. And Marcel Muller is already up into 22nd position. He's already got past Horta, Melo, Sanchez and Campos, obviously. Sanchez retired, Campos retired as well. So Muller's already got ahead of 2 cars. But Christian Hahn is still going to be under some pressure here from Miguel Paludo, who's finally dropped Jeff Gyasi. So Gyasi in 4th ahead of Vivacqua. Then Regadas, Mascherano, Ferter, Perez, Marcondes and Lucas Salas. So still good battles as they run up the hill. Now what can Thiago Vivacqua do about the man in 4th place, Jeff Gyasi? The fastest lap of the race, by the way, is Christian Hahn. He's done a 1:35.926. So just a whisker under the 1:36 mark. There's 11 minutes and 20 still on the clock. So still pretty important for everybody to make good use of the positions they've got. Christian Hahn certainly putting Werner Neugebauer under some pressure now. Neugebauer desperately wants to grab one more victory. It sets him up nicely for Saturday, of course, don't forget. As the drivers will then go into endurance mode on Saturday. But this will not be easy to hold on to. Here they come down the straight. Christian Hahn looking really hungry behind Werner Neugebauer. Let's have a look and see if Werner Neugebauer is going to have the opportunity to defend here from Christian Hahn. Again, he sends Hahn the long way round. Hahn is going to have to commit to that. Tries to chop across and go for the undercut move. Miguel Paludo staying with them just in case. But Christian Hahn is dialing up another bid on Werner Neugebauer now. They come off the turn. A lot of curb used on the exit of the Seta S down the straight. And again, Christian Hahn looking pretty spicy in behind Werner Neugebauer. He's got to leave him enough space so that they can go wheel to wheel. And Neugebauer holds on, but both cars looking a little bit out of shape. Miguel Paludo must be loving this. The more they slide, the better a chance he's got of getting ahead of them. So he's going to continue to make that run. Count in his favour as best as possible. Still working his magic. Still hoping there's going to be a little bit more from these cars as Werner Neugebauer works his way through these very tight hairpins. This is where the car can get really tricky to handle. The back end wants to overtake the front, a lot of horsepower, a lot of rear brake bias. Look how tight it's got between the 3 of them. Neugebauer clearly holding up Christian Hahn and Miguel Paludo taking full advantage. Neugebauer, Hahn, Paludo. Hahn is going to go the long way round. He's going to get a lot of curb. Neugebauer again protects. 9.5 minutes. Plus the additional lap that follows that time going down to 0. Neugebauer having to protect. Hahn is on the offensive, but so too is Miguel Paludo. Paludo fancies a shot at this. They go down the straight again, nose to tail. A little bit of slipstream from Christian Hahn. And Miguel Paludo will get his chance, but they all back out of each other really for that one. Then it's Gyasi, Vivacqua. I wonder if it's starting to get a little bit drizzly at parts of the course, because drivers are really starting to use unique racing lines now. I wonder if there's a little splattering of rain at various points. But certainly for the moment, Werner Neugebauer has the opportunity. He has the advantage as Lino Perez runs a little bit wide there behind Peter Vetter, as Lucas Salas goes to battle with Elsie Feldman. Feldman trying to go the long way round in the Tag Heuer car. It's not quite going to be enough. He can't quite get past the Wish Porsche, number 70. Elsie Feldman tries again. He's forced to go to the left side. That's where Salas is placing him, and that makes it almost impossible to get the move on the inside line for the right-hand hairpin. And indeed, Elsie Feldman decides that's a big risk, too big a risk, in fact. But Neugebauer still holding on in front of Christian Hahn. And that is Josimar Junior. So Josimar Junior in the Senna helmet colours has spun his particular number 27 Porsche around. Now, how did that happen? Was he assisted to the scene of it? Well, we're not actually seeing a replay. I thought we were seeing a replay. We're actually seeing the aftermath. Oh, Josimar Junior did it all on his own, so it was a replay we got to see there. So at least so, Josimar Junior, unfortunately, no assistance, just lost the back end of the car. A little bit too quick into the Bico de Pato. And that was enough to pitch him around. So Neugebauer still under pressure from Christian Hahn. Miguel Paludo staying there in 3rd position. Marcel Müller is up to 18th. He certainly doesn't need to be pushing as hard as he is, but he's enjoying working his way through the field by the look of it. Look in the background at turn 1. You might see Marcel Müller. There he is. So Marcel Müller is there. As again, Elsie Feldman closes up on Lucas Salas. And if we look in the background, oh, there's some debris on the circuit blowing around. Well, that is not good news. I'm not sure what that's come from, whether that's a bit of advertising awning or whether that's something from the side of the road, but that's causing some big distress amongst the drivers. That could actually trigger another safety car if it causes more problems. They've just got to hope that the cars splash past. And that's a spin! A spin there for Paulo Sousa. So Paulo Sousa spins the Elefante car. And that is going to drop him to the back of the field now. Again, was he assisted? There's debris on the circuit. He's tried to dive right up the inside. That was a bit too brave, I'm afraid, for Sousa. And to be fair to Gustavo Fara, he was lucky not to be pitched into a spin through that. Here it is again, look. Big move on the inside from Sousa. And it's just not going to happen. That was a bit too hungry. So Paulo Sousa's car needs to move before we go to a safety car. Come on, Paulo, get it going, get it going. We do not need another safety car at this late stage of the race. So let's get it home. Neugebauer leads, Hahn 2nd, Paludo 3rd. And this is going to be enough for Marcel Müller to become the champion in a little under 6 minutes plus a lap. Look back and we'll find Marcel Müller. There he is. So Marcel Müller chasing down the 33 car, Bruno Campos. Marcel Müller now in 17th place. But crucially, he is looking good to become the champion. He may not be winning this race. He may not be getting a decent result, but all he had to do was finish the race and he will become the champion. It's all provisional, of course. But Marcel Müller looking good, diving up the inside to try and get another overtaking move. The confidence that Müller has on the brakes, no match at all. Or Bruno Campos, who just lets him go in the end. Not a lot of point to fight him when you've got another race of your own to battle for. But there is Peter Vetter dueling away in his own race battle. Peter Vetter looking good for 3rd position in the sport category. The win, incidentally, looks like it's going to go the way of Marcos Regodas, ahead of Ryan Mascherano, who is the car in front of us. Then Peter Vetter and Lino Perez are battling for the final spot. Well, I say the final spot on the podium, but of course in the Porsche Carrera Cup paddock, it's the top 5 that pick up trophies, not the top 3. So the podium is actually the top 5 in this particular paddock. Round the turn, back on the power again. Charging the way forward and up and over the top of the crest. And with 4.5 minutes to go, Werner Neugebauer still holds on here in front of Christian Hahn, who still has the fastest lap of the race, as Paulo Sousa has made it back to the pits. So even if he's not going to finish the race, at least he's made it back to the pit lane. Up on the inside, Alcy Feldman trying to squeeze for the inside line there on Lucas Salas. But Salas very neatly holds the line. So Alcy Feldman doesn't have a whiff of an opportunity on that inside line. So it's been pretty tricky so far. Battle still continues. But with 4 minutes to go, it's looking pretty comfortable for Marcel Müller, despite being down in 17th place, and there he is. It's now 16th, actually, having got ahead of Bruno Campos, but that'll do as far as becoming champion is concerned. It may not be the glorious victory that he would have liked to win the championship on, or even a podium to win the championship on, but he won't care. He's currently running 9th in the category, but that will be more than enough to become champion. All he had to do was finish the race, and he's certainly going to do that. It was a little bit of a narrow thing there for a moment with that puncture, but fortunately for him, Miguel Paludo is not in a race-winning position. He's in 3rd place behind Werner Neugebauer and Christian Hahn. 3 minutes and 5 seconds left. By my mathematics, that is going to be 2 laps, and then there will be 1 lap after that, of course. So, as here comes Werner Neugebauer across the line, we have 3 laps to go in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil sprint season. The Endurance Challenge being this weekend, of course. But it's all going very well indeed for the number 8, Werner Neugebauer, ahead of Christian Hahn, with Miguel Paludo still in 3rd place. He's done the best he can, Miguel Paludo. But when the chips were down and the championship needed to be won, it was Marcel Müller who rose to the occasion across these 2 races. The one that took place on the Saturday during the Sao Paulo Grand Prix weekend, and this one, which is the race from that weekend that was cancelled and repositioned to the Wednesday prior to the Endurance Challenge finale. So as the contenders continue to push up through the final few corners, Marcel Müller looking very comfortable. The team is there. They knew it was pretty much a foregone conclusion as long as he finished the race, but they've certainly had to sweat a little bit more in this race than they would have liked. The puncture earlier on certainly put Marcel Müller and his crew on the back foot, but fortunately for him, it happened at a very agreeable part of the circuit, so it didn't cause him too much damage, and it certainly didn't cost him too much time either. So Marcel Müller can be very happy with that, as into the pits comes Francisco Horta. So Francisco Horta comes in. Not entirely sure what's happened, but obviously he had the spin on the first lap. Oh, look, he's got some of that plastic bag caught in the radiator. Now that will cause the engine to overheat pretty quickly. So I did say that that bit of debris, it looked to me like a plastic shopping bag, or maybe one of the wraps that the tyre barriers come in. Certainly a very unusually large strip of plastic, but it's got caught rather sadly in Francisco Horta's radiator, so it has to be removed, or that's going to cause a catastrophic engine failure. But there is the championship as it stands with a minute to go in the season. We're going into then the penultimate lap of the year, and Marcel Müller looks like he's going to win this by 11 points as Alcy Feldman tries again, this time around the outside of Lucas Salas. But he has to bail out of the move once more, and being a little bit too eager has actually put him into the clutches of Nelson Monteiro, with Israel Salman behind him. And further up the road, we've got Linu Perez going wheel to wheel with Nelson Marcondes, and Marcondes has got ahead. So that's great news for Nelson Marcondes. That's going to put him into 4th place in sport. But the winner in the sport category is definitely going to be Marcos Regadas if he stays where he is. But Werner Neugebauer has positioned himself perfectly in this race. He wanted to be top 3 in the championship, and it looks like he's going to be P2 with this victory over Christian Hahn. And Miguel Paludo, who came into the weekend in 2nd in the championship, is sadly going to drop to 4th. 3, 2, 1, and the time runs down to 0. So when they cross the line this time by, there will be 1 lap left of the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil season. There is still the Porsche Sprint Challenge to take place. Safety car! Safety car! Well, that's what it said on the timing screen. I don't know whether we're actually going to go to safety car or not. but it came up on the screen temporarily. Well, it looks like it was in error because we've actually only got 1 lap left of the season. There we go, Ultima Volta. Oh, goodness me. For a brief second there, I thought we were going to finish the season under safety car, but it's not to be. Thank goodness for that. So, Werner Neugebauer leads Christian Hahn. Oh, Christian Hahn go right off the road, as does Miguel Paludo. But Marcel Muller goes into his final lap of the season. He's going to be classified as a finisher now, even if he doesn't cross the line. So that will make it guaranteed. He has become champion. All he had to do was finish the race. They can start celebrating at Farben. Whatever happens now, he becomes champion. But Miguel Paludo is on countback, going to be second in the championship ahead of Christian Hahn and Werner Neugebauer. So when the drop scores come into account, Paludo will be just 5 points behind Marcel Muller. Paludo needed to win this race to stand any chance of getting the job done, but it will not be the case. Rather sadly, he comes just a little bit too far short. The puncture certainly helped, but Paludo is not in a position to win this championship now. Third position will deny him the chance. Christian Hahn has fought valiantly this season, but Werner Neugebauer is just going to miss out on the championship top 3. But what a way to bow out of 2024 with a convincing victory. He had all the pressure in the world from Christian Hahn, and he's thrown everything at him, but he's been able to hold on in fine style. Out of the final turn, Werner Neugebauer wins the last race of the season here at Interlagos. Second position for Christian Hahn, third for Miguel Paludo. All 3 drivers, however, miss out on the championship. Neugebauer takes the win, though. That sets him up nicely for the Endurance Challenge. But we need to look back, because the victory in the championship will go the way of Marcel Muller. Over the line comes Marcel Muller, and he realizes his dream. He has become 2024 Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil champion. Look at the Farben boys. They know they have done it. Marcel Muller is the champion. A fantastic season for all the boys at the Farben crew. And Marcel Muller is the new champion for 2024. Excellent result. He worked hard to get there. He played the percentages in the first race during the Grand Prix weekend. And even in this postponed rerun second race, even a puncture couldn't deny him the championship title. Marcel Muller may have finished down the field, but he is the new champion. And very deservedly so too. An excellent display all year from Marcel Muller. Very deserving of the accolade of champion. Great effort from the Farben crew that have given him the tools to get the job done this year. Elsewhere, it's a fabulous run to the victory in the sport category for Marcos Regadas. He wins in the sport category behind Jeff Chiassi, Thiago Vivacqua, and the top 3, of course, as well. So Marcos Regadas is the race winner in the sport category. But it's a fabulous, fabulous day for Neugebauer, who wins the race, and Marcel Muller, who wins the championship title. In the rookie category, the winner, Israel Salmen. So Israel Salmen becomes the rookie champion by virtue of winning the last race of the season. Absolutely fantastic. We'll await official confirmation for the Sport Championship winner. But Werner Neugebauer takes the victory. The winner's roof goes onto the top of the car, and Werner Neugebauer can be very happy indeed with the way this race has gone. There is Rafael Suzuki, I think, actually. No, my apologies, it's just one of his crew members. Rafael Suzuki is in town, though, of course. But Werner Neugebauer is delighted. He takes the win, the last win of the season. He may not be in the championship top 3, but he's proven his worth with a final win of the year. And that sets him up for a championship attack. Marcos Regadas takes the victory and stands on the top of the roof in the sport category, holding the flag of his native state. And we're waiting for Israel Salmen to come in. Israel Salmen, of course, being the rookie winner. And that will, of course, make him the rookie champion. There he is in the on-fly car. So Israel Salmen gets the winner's roof. And Marcel Muller parks up as the champion of 2024. The scenes down there in the pits for the Farben Petrus crew. Well, that party's going to go all the way till Friday. And of course, that car will be needed again because on Friday, they'll go into qualifying for the endurance finale. But what a fantastic end to the season for Marcel Müller. He just needed to finish the race. That was all that was required. And even with a puncture, he did that. Climbing onto the top of his roof, Israel Salmen taking the victory, and with it, the Carrera Cup Rookie Championship title. Excellent display for Israel Salmen. And that, as they say, is that. Well, what a fantastic end to the season. So many great drivers to give us such an impeccable show. The Carrera Cup Sport title. I'm trying to do the math as quickly as possible because Regadas got the victory with 18 points. That doesn't really cause too many headaches for anybody because he's obviously there on 18 at the very end of the season. Just trying to see what everybody else would have got. So Ryan Massarello would have been the highest scoring of the championship contenders. He would have ended on 15. Just trying to do the maths here very quickly while we're on the broadcast. I don't want you to leave you guys hanging. Vettel will get 13 points. Marcondes, I believe, will get 11. But we'll get it confirmed as soon as humanly possible. So Peter Verter coming home in third position. I think that is enough for Peter Verter to be crowned the champion. Francisco Horta spun off during the race, of course. So I don't think his points tally will be particularly strong by comparison to his rivals. And that is going to put him down the field. 9 points go the way of Linu Perez. 7 for Nelson Monteiro. And then obviously Francisco Horta retired from the race. So I'm fairly sure that means that Peter Verter has just been confirmed as the champion in the sport category of the Carrera Cup. But we'll double check it. But I'm fairly sure it's gone the way of Peter Verter, who was the leader going in. But great racing in all 3 categories. Great racing from all the drivers. And we're awaiting official confirmation. But as far as we can tell by the maths, the 3 champions are the men who led the series going into the last race of the year. Israel Salmen in the rookie category. Peter Verter in the sport category. And the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil champion 2024 is Marcel Müller, despite a puncture. Wasn't the cleanest race from everybody, but it was certainly a decisive one as far as the championship was concerned. The moves were made, the battles were joined from the start, and there is now just one sprint race left of the season, and that is in the challenge categories. So in the time-honored tradition of the Porsche Carrera Cup of Brazil, there's going to be 3 podium ceremonies. Carrera Cup, then Sport, then Rookie. And then as soon as that third and final podium ceremony is over, we will then go straight in for the Sprint Challenge. What a fantastic end to the season for our competitors. They really gave us a good display. So the provisional result then, Werner Neugebauer taking the win from Christian Hahn and Miguel Peludo. Jeff Gyasi P4 ahead of Thiago Vivacqua. Marcos Regadas takes the win in the sport category ahead of Ryan Massarello and Peter Verter, who we think is the new champion in the sport category. Nelson Marcondes P9, Linu Perez in P10. Then it was Lucas Salas in front of Elsie Feldman, Nelson Monteiro, the new rookie champion Israel Salmen, Pedro Agua, and Marcel Müller, the new overall Carrera champion. Bruno Campos, Marco Bazzani, Edward Guedes, and Rodrigo Melo finishing off the top 20. And then in the final reckoning, Yosemar Junior and Gustavo Fada, the final 2 men to finish. Francisco Horta, Paulo Souza, Leonardo Sanchez, and Carlos Campos all retired from the race in separate incidents. Your champions for 2024 are confirmed. Marcel Müller, Peter Verter, and Israel Salmen in Carrera, Sport, and Rookie, respectively. What a great end to the year for those 3. They've definitely worked hard for it. And it's great to see them take the championship. Here are the final points tables Marcel Muller just 5 points clear of Miguel Paludo. Job done. Christian Hahn in third, I should say, ahead of Werner Neugebauer. And Thiago Vivacqua came through for fifth, ahead of Mascherano, Lucas Salas, Peter Verter, Elsie Feldman, and Francisco Horta. The championship standings in the sport category, it's Peter Verter that comes through for the championship title after a furious final race. The sport category is actually where most of the fireworks actually happened as far as the championship battles were concerned. And then in the rookie category, it's Israel Salmen that gets the job done to become the new rookie champion. But Marcel Muller becomes champion in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil by just 5 points clear of Miguel Paludo. A great end to a fabulous season and some properly good racing at the end of the year, just to show you how intense it's been throughout the 2024 season. We cannot wait for this weekend's Endurance Challenge finale. Some teams will have 2 drivers, others will have 3 in what is set to be the longest endurance race of the season. And it's definitely going to be a rip-roaring battle for all the contenders. So we now have our 3 different champions, and we've got cars that are still in relatively good condition, which is good because they didn't want to do too much work tomorrow to prepare them for the Endurance Challenge finale this weekend. Qualifying, of course, on Friday right here, and Saturday, the main event itself. There's the podium ceremony then for the top 5 drivers in the race, and a fabulous result it was, of course, to see those 5 contenders in position. Miguel Paludo gave his best, wasn't quite able to become champion. Christian Hahn in second position, but the race winner, Werner Neugebauer, another trophy to add to his extensive collection in 2024. And of course, on Saturday, he wants one more. If he gets the win, he'll be the endurance champion instead of becoming the sprint challenge, Carrera Cup champion. As the champagne flows, it's a good run from Werner Neugebauer. He did a good job, and he became the anti-penultimate runner-up. Winner of the race, Werner Neugebauer. A great battle between him and Christian Hahn, but he ended up finishing up 4th in the championship. But he certainly made it count right at the last part of the season. A good effort, a good race, and a flawless drive, despite all the pressure that Christian Hahn gave him, and even Miguel Paludo gave him at various points through the course of this season finale. But the Merta car doesn't skip a beat, and I'm sure Rubens Barrichello will be on the phone to Werner Neugebauer. So tell me, is that car really as beautifully dialed in as you made it look? Werner, I'm sure, will say, don't worry, mate. Get your skates on and get to Interlagos. We're in for an exciting weekend in the Endurance Challenge finale, as Werner Neugebauer takes the final race win of the season. And shortly, all of the attention and focus will now turn to the Sprint Challenge finale, which will see Antonella Bassani battling at the sharp end of the field. But Werner Neugebauer is happy. A great result and a great win. The second podium, the contenders in the sport category. A great finish to their race season. Peter Verter finishing 3rd, and it's enough to make him the champion. Ryan Mascherano, 2nd place, a great season for him in a year where he even won races overall. But a good end to the year for Marcos Regadas. A great end to the season in the sport category. And Marcos Regadas will celebrate a fabulous victory in the last race of the year. And Peter Verter will celebrate becoming the Carrera Cup Sport Champion. Great result right at the end of the season. And all of those drivers will now be getting themselves ready for the endurance this weekend. But a good solid end to the year for Marcos Regadas. He's had his ups and his downs this year. It's not all been plain sailing. There have been as many hiccups as there have been triumphs. But I tell you what, when it mattered, he bowed out as a race winner. A lot of other drivers got it wrong. A lot of others lost their heads. Francisco Horta immediately springs to mind with a championship on the line. But Marcos Regadas did what he needed to do. Stayed calm, stayed cool, stayed confident. And the victory was decidedly his. excellent display. Great effort all the way through the season as well. Very worthy and very deserving of a victory. And the final podium ceremony will, of course, see Israel Salman not only lift the trophy to become the race winner, but also at the same time, the champion. A great performance from Israel Salman. He puts himself on the top step of the podium as the top 5 drivers in the rookie category celebrate. But this time, we've got a winning driver on the top step, and that winning driver just also happens to be the new champion for 2024. And finally, the race winner gets his hand on the trophy. But this one will be the sweetest of them all for Israel Salman, because it means he is now the 2024 Porsche Carrera Cup Rookie Champion. A great end to the season, and he can celebrate this one with vigor with the champagne. As the boys get busy with the fizzy, Israel Salman's party is going to be a decent one for about 36 hours, I would say, before the focus then shifts to the endurance. But yet again, Israel Salman can be very proud of what he's achieved. He had a hell of a lot of pressure from a hell of a lot of drivers this year. There were some difficulties. There were some great wheel-to-wheel battles for him to cope with. But Israel Salman, right up at the sharp end, when it matters, he delivered. It was a really exciting race in the Porsche Carrera Cup, and now we get another terrific battle to come in the Porsche Sprint Challenge of Brazil. If Antonella Bassani wins this race with a non-score from Miguel Mariotti, she turns her form around and becomes back-to-back champion. She was obviously the reigning champion. There have been a lot of difficulties this year with mechanical maladies and such, but she now has a chance to change that. A win in the last race of the season would definitely make things a little bit more easy to cope with after the stresses and the strains of the season that have already gone before. But it's definitely going to be a tough race. There's no two ways about that. So as we just watched some of the highlights from the last Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil race of the season, don't forget these guys will all be back in force on Friday and Saturday as the last round of the Porsche Endurance Challenge of Brazil will take place this weekend at exactly the same circuit here at Interlagos. So we've got plenty of reasons to get excited for the weekend ahead. It's going to be a truly exceptional battle all the way through. So as the drivers prepare for an exciting new chapter in the weekend, we prepare for the thrills and spills of the Sprint Challenge finale. And it is going to be a really exciting race, let me tell you. Antonella Bassani with a chance to make it all happen. For once, we've got an opportunity for all of these guys to bring the car to the starting grid. We don't get this opportunity very often. Normally, the schedule is so busy and so packed that the cars don't actually come to the starting grid. They go straight in to the formation lap. But on this occasion, it's different. We've actually changed it up for this particular weekend. Seeing as how there's no other activity on a Wednesday at Interlagos, why not change things up and actually give them a grid walk? There haven't been many grid walks this year for the Sprint Challenge in Brazil. In fact, I think this might actually be the first one. But it's definitely going to be an intriguing battle for all the contenders out there on the course. We're going to see a lot of interesting battles. Now, according to my timing screen, I'm just trying to make out if Antonella Bassani is actually going to take up her position in pole position. Yeah, I think it's just the way that the timing screen has picked them up on the way in and out of the pit lane. I think she's the last one to leave the pits. So I don't want to raise any alarms that don't need to be raised, but I didn't see her name at the top. I actually saw her name at the bottom. But I've certainly not heard any news bulletins that she's suddenly been demoted to the back of the grid. So I certainly wouldn't want to irritate or infuriate or confuse any of Antonella Bassani's many legion of fans, not just here in Brazil, but around the world as well. She's a real maverick and a real renegade for the championship, considering that she's already a champion, one of the youngest in the field. winning her first championship title last year. So she's already proven that she has what it takes to be one of the best in this category. The luck hasn't always been with her in 2024, that has to be said. And she's had difficulties in a couple of mechanical problems. There was 1 or 2 spins in the season as well, which certainly didn't help. But as far as the battles are concerned, she can be very happy with the fact that she comes to this last race of the championship, starting on the front row of the grid alongside her main championship rival, Miguel Mariotti. If she wins and Mariotti scores, I think it's 9 points or less, then she becomes the champion herself. And that would be for the 2nd year in a row. But I don't think she would begrudge Miguel Mariotti the championship title if he were to clinch it. They've been great competitors all the way through the season. They've been spirited rivals. And it really has been fantastic to see the camaraderie and the rich spirit of racing between all of the contenders at the sharp end of the season. And it's a great way for it to end as well, with these two drivers locked in position to battle for the title. So the 20 cars that will take part in the Sprint Challenge get their way to the starting grid. Yes, there's going to be quite a lot of cars racing in the Endurance Challenge at the weekend, because obviously all 20 of these cars will be called into active service, as of course will the 28 cars from the previous race as well. So it's going to be a very busy starting grid when they all get together for the Endurance Challenge this weekend. Expect the challenge and the battles to be exciting right the way through. We're going to see some truly good racing from the contenders in the challenge second race of this incredibly long weekend. It's the longest weekend in the history of the championship. 11 days, just to be precise. But the 11-day race weekend gives us a chance to actually get to see this last race of the season in the Porsche Carrera Cup Challenge category play out, and it will be a fascinating end to the Sprint Challenge for 2024. Now, of course, we need to remind you that one champion has already been crowned. That is the rookie champion, Caio Chavez. So Caio Chavez is already the champion. So we've still got 2 champions to crown across the Sprint and Sport categories. So that'll be a really interesting one to decide. And of course, going into this one, the sport category is all going to be about the fight between Seba Malucelli and Chelio Brasil, because they're going to be fighting tooth and nail to try and get this Sprint Challenge Championship won. But it's not going to be very easy to tell who's going to get the job done. Going into the weekend, it's actually Chelio Brasil who leads the championship on dropped scores, which is interesting because he's scored fewer points than his main rival, Seba Malucelli, this year, but on dropped scores, because your 2 lowest scores have to be removed from your total, that actually puts Chelio Brasil slightly into the lead of the championship. So in the sport category, this is definitely going to come down to the wire. I would say that Antonella Bassani is obviously the favourite to win this one from pole position, but the championship is kind of out of her control. She's got to be in a position to win the race, but it's going to be a bit of a championship, a bit like Felipe Massa and Lewis Hamilton on this very circuit back in 2018 Formula One. Antonella Bassani can go out and do the Felipe Massa job and go out and win the race at a canter and score the maximum points, but it all then comes down to where Miguel Mariotti finishes a little further back in the pack. So it does really take any of the fight of the championship out of the narrative, because it goes down to Antonella Bassani basically going on to try and win her race and then hoping that her rival Miguel Mariotti is going to have problems. There is Leonardo Herrmann's car, the Coppert Porsche, number 23. Leonardo Herrmann, of course, is in an interesting battle this time as well. He's going to be fighting for the victory in the sport category, but he's going to be starting quite a considerable way back from the pack. No, my apologies, he won't win it. He'll be starting on the front row of the grid. I'm still looking at the timing screen rather than the stats for the starting grid. Well, there is Christian Moore. Now, Christian Moore is obviously going to be wanting to have a great race of his own there. You can see already that a couple of the Porsche Carrera Cup drivers have finished off their day of racing. And so they've come onto the pit wall to watch the Sprint Challenge race play out. So for Antonella Bassani and Miguel Mariotti, the two championship contenders lining up on the front row of the starting grid. That will be fascinating to see how it plays out. There's Matthias Roque. So Matthias Roque is going to be fighting his way for the victory in his particular category as well. Of course, he's going to be driving in the sport category, Matthias Roque. So expect him to be joining with the likes of Celio Brasil and Seba Malucelli, along with Leonardo Herman, Sang-Ho Kim, Giuliano Bertuccelli, and Luis Souza. Those are the other sport contenders going into this weekend. We're going to have a handful of battlers in the sprint category. We're obviously going to have some rookies to watch as well. Caio Chavez, the new rookie champion, but he'll be on the grid with Vania Pontes, Claudio Reina, Fernando Arruda, Alcivar Benito, and Eric Santos, and then everybody else is going to be in the challenge category. Those drivers consisting of Caio Castro, Christian Moore, Miguel Mariotti, Sarek Leiter, Andre Rosario, Gerson Campos, and the driver who starts from pole position, the 19-year-old female reigning champion, Antonella Bassani. So let's see if Antonella Bassani can convert a pole position into a race win. It would be her third win of the season, I do believe, if she were able to do so. So it's definitely going to be her main target going into this. So we will find out exactly what she is capable of and how quickly she can turn this race into a championship title. Again, if she wins the race, that's all well and good, but it's up to Miguel Mariotti after that. And a top 5 finish would pretty much seal the deal as far as he's concerned. But I don't think Antonella Bassani would be too disappointed if she were to win the race but not quite manage to win the title. It's been a very tough year for Antonella Bassani this year. The title defence is always a difficult one. But she's made good work of it when she's had a car and an opportunity that she can take advantage of. It's not always been easy to do, of course. But we'll have to see how things continue to progress. It's certainly going to be a very tough end to the season for Antonella Bassani to win both the race and the championship. Not the least because the gap is so big in the championship between Mariotti and Bassani coming into this one. So a second place would easily win the title for Mariotti if Bassani were to take the win. But none the least, of course, as well, because there's a lot of pressure going on to a teenage driver in the final weekend of the season. And so Bassani has got to be realistic, but also anticipating an exciting race. You can expect that Miguel Mariotti isn't going to back down from the challenge, but I wonder what his tactics are going to be in this one. It would be easy to suggest that, well, he'll just go straight into attack mode. It would also be fairly reasonable to expect him to go into defense mode. If he only needs a handful of points, why does he need to battle too hard to go for the win? He may as well just let a couple of positions for everybody as they continue on. So now the contenders are in position. There's Caio Castro, who is running in his vintage Fittipaldi race livery, but also with everybody down the pits that can, carrying the 30-year banners that have become quite frequent on the cars. There we go, the final departure from the grid. The female mechanics there are obviously the mechanics that are working on Antonella Bassani's car. It's not just a female driver in that particular crew. Pretty much all the major mechanical roles that are taking place in that particular pit bay are all female as well. Antonella Bassani has gathered a group of fantastic female engineers around her, and they won the championship last year, and they're not too far away from winning the championship again this time. Can the talented young teenager Antonella Bassani become back-to-back challenge champion? Very tough to tell. The 3-minute board goes up. The mechanics are already departing the grid. So now things become tricky. Bassani will be on pole position alongside her main rival for the championship, Miguel Mariotti, who of course has the lead in the championship. But Bassani needs to win the race from pole position and hope that Mariotti slips behind the top 5. And when you consider that at this moment in time, there are only 7 challenge competitors on this 20-car grid, it is going to be tricky. But then Miguel Mariotti has been in hard scrapes this season, so it's never a guarantee. There is the 21 on the starting grid, Miguel Mariotti in the green and black machine, hoping that this is the race that he can turn into a race victory. A win, of course, would make him an absolute definite and definitive champion. So the mechanics have cleared the grid completely and the 3-minute board is replaced with the 1-minute board. That is the signal to the drivers to get ready. So the 1-minute board signals that we're about to enter the final half an hour of the Sprint Challenge season. We have just wrapped on the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil. Now for the Porsche Sprint Challenge to end in fine stead. And for Antonella Bassani, alongside on the front row of the grid of her main championship rival, Miguel Mariotti, goodness knows what's going to happen. I love moments like this. There's so much tension in the championship finale. And you would be forgiven for thinking that the drivers are in no certain terms as to how they're going to get out of this, the same way everybody else is. But what a fantastic end to the season. What an exciting end to this incredible duel through what has been a very tough season. Miguel Mariotti with the camera as well. So too does Antonella Bassani, of course. But we are ready for a very exciting end to a very exciting season. What are we going to witness? How is this going to play out? Only one way to find out. So as the drivers work their way around on their 2 formation laps, once again, it's always 2 formation laps in Porsche Carrera Cup and Porsche Sprint Challenge. The safety car leads them around. And for the 20 cars, this is where things get serious. Antonella Bassani, pole position alongside her main championship opposition, Miguel Mariotti, on the front row of the grid. Row 2, Christian Moore alongside the sport leader, Leonardo Herman, hoping to bow out with a victory. Chile Brazil wants to win the title alongside Matias Roque. Then Caio Chavez, the new rookie champion. He's alongside Seba Malucelli in 8th on the grid. Caio Castro is beside Sadak Leiter, 2 challenge contenders hoping to charge forward. Gerson Campos is alongside Giuliano Bertuccelli on row 6 of the grid. Row 7 will see Alsunito in the Lightning McQueen colours alongside Eric Santos. Then we're going to see Wanya Pontes alongside Sangho Kim starting way down in 16th of the grid. Then Claudio Reina lines up beside Luis Souza, hoping his Singular car can charge ahead. And then Andre Rosario lines up alongside Fernando Arruda. So all 20 cars are there in position around this Interlagos circuit. And once again, it all comes down to who's going to have the composure, who's going to have the mentality to run this race from the front, not overcook it, not overexert, just keep it nice and tidy. And it's fair to say that both Antonella Bassani and Miguel Mariotti have a very genuinely strong claim for this championship title. Both have been very strong, both have been incredibly capable, both have had amazing ability this year and have shown it strong. But between Antonella Bassani and Miguel Mariotti, there is a decent gap for Mariotti to be comfortable. He doesn't have to stretch this too far. He's got to hope that it all holds together, that the team has engineered everything as it should, that everybody is fairly close in together. I can sense there's going to be some difficulties for a few of the drivers as they work their way forward. But that doesn't mean we're not going to see something pretty special. The onboard camera is continuing to show us some great scenes here as everybody is prepared for another magnificent show. But Antonella Bassani has all the hard work to do here. Bassani has everything to lose from pole position, but Mariotti has everything to lose from second position on the starting grid as the championship leader. It's not going to be easy at all. And a rolling start just adds the air of risk. If there's fireworks in Porsche Carrera Cup over the course of one race meeting, it usually comes from the challenge competitors, who of course are just a little bit closer in up their own ladder. Miguel Mariotti just giving himself a chance there to dial himself in, hoping for a little bit more from this race. And so the drivers getting themselves into position shortly. There'll be 2 tram lines of cars, and then we'll get ourselves into a strong position once more. But the contenders are ready. We should be in for an exciting race. So the safety car will bunch them up. They're now getting ready to charge away, and it really is going to be a fantastic race battle now, as the drivers are ready for an exciting race ahead. The battle is ready to get underway off the final turn. Bassani becomes the pace setter. Mariotti alongside her will want a decent start himself, but watch out for Christian Moore. He's going to want to get a decent charge forward. Now they're going on the throttle. Bassani just wants to bring this field forward in good position. Looks like it's going to be a fairly tidy start, but this is the last, hopefully, race start of the 2024 season in the Porsche Challenge. Off we go, and it's a great start from Christian Moore. He's going to tuck in and go level with Miguel Mariotti to the first corner. Can Christian Moore get into second? He can. Mariotti's got to be a little bit more conservative. Leonardo Herrmann can't finish the move off on the inside line through the S's. And so down to third position goes Miguel Mariotti. Christian Moore throws caution to the winds, gets into second and charges towards the race leader, Antonello Bassani. So Bassani leads. Second for Moore. Third for Mariotti. Fourth position, Leonardo Herrmann, as they work their way into the braking zone for the double left-hander. And there's going to be Sadok Leiter, and there's going to be a crash. 3 full cars together. Seba Malucelli is one of them. Sadok Leiter's got damage. That was far too aggressive on the first lap from Sadok Leiter. That looks like Alcifel Benito has come forward into 5th position in the Lightning McQueen colours, as the rest of the field charges its way through up the top of the hill. But we're going to get a safety car here because there's too much damage. That's the 139 scampering away. That's Chelio Brasil. So the championship contenders in the sport category are right in the thick of it. So Chelio Brasil's got damage. Sadok Leiter's got damage. It was just far too aggressive from Leiter. Let's have a look again. Look, he's on the curbs there, and he crashes into Malucelli and Chelio Brasil. And Caio Castro had to take avoiding action. So too, who was that else going around with him? I think that might have been Giuliano Bertuccelli also taking avoiding action. But there is the safety car. That was inevitable. But Sadok Leiter, I'm not entirely sure what he thought he was doing. And Seba Malucelli, fighting for the championship title in the sport category, is about to be out of the race. Now that is devastating, because Seba Malucelli came into this championship finale with 117 points. He's only got 104 on countback, and that means surely that as long as Chelio Brasil finishes the race, he's going to win the championship instead. Well, Caio Chavez has escaped some damage, but Caio Castro has not, and that is Sadok Leiter's car on the sidelines. I'm trying to do the math now to see where things would lie. Well, Leonardo Herrmann, if he wins the race, that'll actually put him on 109. 3 points back from Chelio Brasil. So I think Seba Malucelli has just cost himself the championship title there. But although he's lost the championship, I think Sadok Leiter will have a bit to say about it. Well, if Seba Malucelli doesn't score and Chelio Brasil doesn't score, if Caio Chavez wins the race, then he becomes champion in the sport category. So that's what's got to be on the mind of Caio Chavez now. We're going to see a replay of it. Look, Sadok Leiter dives in, but I think there was a little bit of contact on Malucelli first. I think he actually got pitched into a pirouette there by Matthias Roque. He was already circulating. So there's a lot more to this than meets the eye, but Seba Malucelli, championship leader coming into the weekend, is now out. That's in the sport category, I should say. He's not the overall championship leader. That is Miguel Mariotti, who's down to third position off this start. But if Caio Chavez is able to come through and win the sport category, then he becomes the winner of the championship. So there's a lot at stake here, as you can tell. Look at the chaos of that. Seba Manucelli goes around and is out of the race, and Chelio Brazil is down at the back. And there is a very, very unhappy driver walking away from his car, probably to go and have a word with the crew at Sadek Leiter. What on earth does he think he was playing at? But Seba Manucelli's championship dreams die in that one turn. So I think the champion is now effectively going to be Chelio Brazil. All Brazil has to do is finish the race, and he becomes the champion. And he's currently looking at 6th position in class, so that will be enough points. Let's look at the start itself again. It was a rocket ship of a launch from Christian Moore. He tucks in behind Antonello Bassani in the gold and black Mobil 1 car. Mariotti's playing the percentages, so he just lets him go, but he almost loses out to Leonardo Herman as well. Manucelli's currently running side by side into turn 1 at this point behind Sadek Leiter. Let's ride on board with Bassani. Looks left, looks right, looks left again. But Mariotti just didn't get as good a start as Antonello Bassani, and Christian Moore took total advantage of it. So Christian Moore able to size it up. Mariotti thinks, right, I've got 2 options here. I can fight for this, or I can just let him go ahead. And he chooses the latter. And for my money, that keeps the championship alive for him. Leonardo Herman getting a feisty start there as well. But it all fell apart for Seba Manucelli in the double left-hander at the foot of the back straight. And the 100% car is now 100% out of this race and this championship fight. Devastating for Seba Manucelli, as now it looks as though the championship title in the sport category is going to go the way of Chelio Brazil, as long as he finishes. I don't know how much damage he would have picked up, but if he doesn't finish the race either, and Caio Chavez comes through to take the win, then he could take the title away. It's going to be very tight at the end of the season there. And don't forget that Caio Chavez is already the rookie winner. So where is Caio Chavez at the moment? Well, he had to take avoiding action. So obviously the incident is going to be investigated. There's no real surprises there. But if the rookie champion, Caio Chavez, is somehow able to work his way further forward and go for the win, i.e. finish ahead of all the other sport category drivers, he could actually take the sport title as well as the rookie title. So here we go on the restart. Christian Moore is right in behind Antonello Bassani, and he's going for the overtake as we go green, 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 green here at Interlagos, and he's going to try and pull ahead. He goes from the right side to the left side. Bassani can't afford to take too big a risk into turn 1. She's going to run out wide, and Christian Moore almost got a chance on her there. But Bassani holds the lead. But will she be compromised out of the Senna S? That's what you've got to take into consideration. There could be a big charge forward from Christian Moore now, and Miguel Mariotti wants a piece of it as well. Bassani's got to stay cool. She's got to stay focused as we ride on board with Mariotti. Bassani pulls back across to the braking zone, and she's not going to get flustered. She's a real tough racer, is Antonella Bassani, and nobody's going to put her in the corner. Excellent work from Bassani. Holds the defensive line here, looking just as much the champion that she was last year, continuing into 2024. The only female in the field, and last year's champion, hoping to become champion again, but I don't think third position for Mariotti is quite going to be the tonic she needs to win it. It'll be a big points haul, but I don't think it'll be big enough. As there we watch the rest of the field pile their way through. Now, where is Castro in relation to, well, Caio Castro has come into the pits to retire as well, so the damage that he had was too severe. So we've only got 17 left, and I can tell you at the very last position is Chelio Brazil. So the man who's set to become the champion in rookie is in dead last. So it's a bit like Marcel Muller all over again. And here comes Herman trying to take on Mariotti. Now Mariotti's got to be calculated here. If Herman slices forward and goes for it, he could get the position. But at the same time, Mariotti doesn't have to fight with Herman quite so intensely. And don't forget that Herman is the kind of driver who wins it or bins it. So that's got to be on Mariotti's mind as well. And besides, if Herman does go for the gung-ho, he can get his braking quite late at times. So the percentage could be there for Mariotti to just let him go if he makes a slam dunk dive bomb. Because there's a 50-50 chance, knowing Leonardo Herman's reputation this year, that he may not make the corner if he goes for it. Meanwhile, side by side, that is a charge forward to move up a position from Sang-Ho Kim on Vanya Pontes. So Sang-Ho Kim gets ahead of Pontes. And that is for P9 in this race, I do believe. So already some good moves forward. Meanwhile, Celio Brazil is in the pits. Celio Brazil is in pit lane. So it looks like Brazil is not going to get the victory. He's not going to finish the race. But I think that's going to put him ahead in the championship still, as there is Celio Brazil limping back to the pits, courtesy of that first lap damage. So both the championship contenders in sport, Brazil and Malucelli, out of the race. Now, if Caio Chavez can pull off the drive of his life and get ahead of all the other sport category drivers, he will win not only the rookie title, but the sport title as well. So Caio Chavez could be the only driver this year to win 2 titles in the same campaign. He's already become the rookie champion. Could he become the sport champion as well? That's the only way he's going to do it. He has to win. Where is Caio Chavez? He's currently in 12th place. Make that 11th now, because Andre Rosario had a bit of a moment on that last lap. So Caio Chavez is in, he's in 11th position. So he's got to overtake 7 cars before he can get into sport championship winning position. He's got to get ahead of Leonardo Herman. So it's a big ask for Caio Chavez, a very big ask. But I've got a feeling he's going to be up to the task anyway. Lots of damage to the rear end of Caio Chavez's car as off the road right in front of him. That's a proper wobble from Vanya Pontes, and that is an absolutely furious Celio Brazil. So there's the move on the inside from Chavez. He gets through on Pontes, and he takes Andre Rosario with him. So that puts Chavez up into 10th place. There's the move on the inside of Rosario. There's got to be a little bit of paint traded. Vanya Pontes gets in on Rosario. Rosario won't be happy with that. But Vanya Pontes gets in front. 14 minutes left of the season, plus the additional lap after that. And that car does not quite look right, does it? Something is looking a little bit ragged in Vanya Pontes' machine. Meanwhile, Leonardo Herman is still pushing. Leonardo Herman still pushing hard here to get on terms with Miguel Mariotti. Now, Mariotti just needs to finish this. He doesn't have to worry too much about where he finishes. Just finish the race, and that will do. Can't afford to lose too many places, but the guys behind him are the leader in sport and rookie, so he can be a little bit calmer. And isn't it nice to see Alcifeld Benito having some good luck for a change? Just call him Lightning McQueen in Portuguese. Alcifeld Benito running in the Rusties livery, made famous by the Disney Pixar Cars franchise. Great to see him having a bit of a laugh there. Clearly Disney Brazil are quite happy to assist him with that. Out of the braking zone, through the left-handers. And look in the background, and we see Chavez. There he is. So Caio Chavez is pulled well clear of Pontes and Rosario. But this is not going to be easy for Caio Chavez. He's got to pass another 6 cars before he's in championship winning condition. And that's going to be very tricky. There are some tough drivers ahead of Caio Chavez now. And we've only got 12.5 minutes plus 1 lap left of the season. So if Caio Chavez can make it work, then that really would be the most stunning of drives. But Antonello Bassani has not only got the lead, but has actually started to pull away a bit now from Christian Moore. I'm delighted to say it's looking pretty comfortable. So this is a very good team so far. Everybody putting on a great show. And so off the turn again. Still working hard. Antonello Bassani pushing forward, looking for a good run. Up to the first turn, brakes hard, tightens the radius, and it looks good. Second place for Christian Moore. And dropping ever further back, Miguel Mariotti. Not that that's a big problem. Mariotti just getting some points in the category will do fine. Up the inside line though, this is going to be Rosario. It's going to be a late braking maneuver, but he's going to get it done. And there is an investigation between Rosario and the 99 of Vanya Pontes. And they are still dueling. So these two are under investigation and the battle continues on and on. Rosario runs wide. Pontes is alongside him. Rosario strikes him. He's got body panel damage. But Vanya Pontes is going to get in front. He goes for the move on the inside line, but he runs wide, and that'll be enough. No problem at all for Rosario to get back in front. And he's now got damage on the back of the car as well as on the side. So no wonder they're under investigation. They've clearly done enough damage for a little bit of debris to be protruding from Andre Rosario's car. Now he's got to be careful because that could end up being a black flag, as that is quite a significant amount of bodywork that is flailing off the back of the car. So he really has to be quite focused about this now. But it's kind of out of his hands as well. He's got to be calm and calculated, but he's also got to hope that the officials don't see that as too dangerous, and then they could black flag him and bring him into the pits to repair it. There's Christian Moore going through the picture in second place. That shows you how good a drive Antonella Bassani is currently having in the lead of the race. She has pulled clear to the tune of 2.2 seconds now with a new fastest lap, a 1:37.9. Everybody else is in anywhere between 1:38.2 and 1:38.6. So she's absolutely flying at the moment. Great to see Antonella Bassani taking this championship fight by the throat, running out in front, pulling clear of Christian Moore. But again, just as we saw in the previous race, the championship is kind of out of her hands. She's just got to go out there and win and hope it's enough. But what happens to Miguel Mariotti, that is what will decide the championship title. And Mariotti has a slender lead, but it's all going to come down to whether Antonella Bassani can overturn it. So Mariotti still working hard at this stage of the race. It is going to be tight. There's no two ways about it. But if we do the math and look at how it's likely to go, Antonella Bassani is currently looking good for 28 points haul, whereas in third position, Miguel Mariotti is looking good for 23, and that would make Mariotti the champion by 12 points. So it's not enough. Bassani winning the race is great, but it means that she's not going to get the championship title unless Miguel Mariotti has a little bit more of a problem. So it's not easy to tell how this is going to go down. But with 9 minutes left, Miguel Mariotti just needs to keep his position. Fortunately for him, his nearest challenger in the challenge category is all the way down in P6. That's Gerson Campos. So no major concerns, although Leonardo Herrmann is really starting to eat away at Miguel Mariotti's position here. If Herrmann can go for the move, and Mariotti, well, what would he do? Would he defend the position? Would he want to get badly enough on the podium that he would risk Herrmann going into it? Now on the inside again. A nice little duel here going on at the line. This is Claudio Reina going wheel to wheel with Eric Santos, and Reina gets in front. A lot of overtaking, as there always is in Porsche Carrera Cup and also in Porsche Sprint Challenge. Great to see these drivers still putting on a great show. They're identical cars, of course, to the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil drivers, but it's just varying degrees of ability that keeps them in the Sprint Challenge rather than the pinnacle of the Carrera Cup. But Antonella Bassani looking very much like a Carrera Cup driver in the future, but I think she's just going to fall short of lifting back-to-back championship titles. And of course, her crew are not in contention to win the Endurance Challenge either. So it'll be a frustrating week for Antonella Bassani. Going out there and leading every lap and winning the race, Felipe Massa style, on the Interlagos circuit as well. It'll be a big moment for her, but rather sadly, I don't think it's going to transfer into the championship. And actually, also rather sadly, Antonella Bassani doesn't get to win this race in front of the Formula One crowd. And of course, if that race had gone ahead on the Sunday before the Grand Prix, it would have been in front of the Grand Prix crowd, and that would have been an amazing accolade for a woman to win in a class full of men on the Formula One weekend. How big an impact would that have had? Probably would have been fairly massive. So frustratingly, it has to happen almost behind closed doors on a Wednesday afternoon. Mariotti still working his magic to keep Leonardo Herrmann behind him as Alsifeld-Manito hustles the pair of them in the hope that he can get by. Christian Moore running a very solid P2 at the moment. No problems with running in second place at this moment in time. Dropping back a little bit from Antonella Bassani, but it's not like there's a championship to lose if he can't catch up to her, because he knows he's not really in contention for the championship. But for Antonella Bassani, pushing out into the lead with a decent result in the offing for Miguel Mariotti means that she's done everything she can, but she can't move mountains. Through the left-hander, back on the power and up the hill. Herrmann still pushing Mariotti. That back end looking a little bit twitchy on the throttle. We've said it before, we'll say it again. The back ends of these cars can be a little bit tail happy. But Herrmann's got a good run this time. He's got a really good run on Miguel Mariotti. Hold your breath. Dive in for the first corner. Herrmann is going to commit to the inside line. Can he go for the move on Mariotti? Yes, he's through into third position, but he runs wide on the exit. Can Mariotti take advantage and keep it going? Yes, he can. So Miguel Mariotti gets back that third position as quickly as he loses it. And now Alsifeld-Manito is all over the back of Leonardo Herrmann. So let's see it again. Herrmann lines him up. Perfectly good run onto the inside line, but he misses his braking point by about 1.5 meters. It's not much in it at all. And he gets the position, but on the switchback, the cleaner, smoother, and less hairy line comes from Miguel Mariotti. The back end steps out at this point, and there's nothing that Leonardo Herrmann can do but watch as the man he's just vanquished takes him straight back again. That must be so frustrating for Leonardo Herrmann. But for Miguel Mariotti, it's a sigh of relief. It's still game on in the championship fight. And now Herrmann is all over the back of him again. Alsifeld-Manito, they're in P5. P6 belongs to Gerson Campos, then Roque, Bertucelli, and Kyle Chavez is now up to 9th. So Chavez is doing everything he can to try and get this sport championship title. Of course, the advantage he's got is that Miguel Mariotti is holding up the field. 4 minutes left. Mariotti's just got to hold on to this for a whisker over 5 minutes once you add the extra lap. But this is tough pressure. This is really tough pressure from Miguel Mariotti. He knows that one slip, and not only is he letting Herrmann through, but he's then letting Alsifeld-Manito through. He's letting Gerson Campos, Matias Roque, Giuliano Bertucelli, Carlos Chavez. You've got to be so careful how many positions you lose just by losing one place, because the chain reaction can start a domino rally. And then all of a sudden, right at the very end, you're not holding the winning domino, you're holding a double one. So far, so good. Miguel Mariotti up through the double right at the top of the hill. Very little work that can be done here by Antonella Bassani other than what she's already doing. But Miguel Mariotti has got to throw that anchor over the side of the boat and hope that nobody's going to strike a buoy on the way past. There is Antonella Bassani, champion in 2023, desperate to become champion again in 2024. But unless something really dramatic happens to Miguel Mariotti, and it still could in these last 2.5 minutes, then she's going to have to settle for second in the Drivers' Championship. After what's been a topsy-turvy year, she's had her great races, she's had her victories, she's had her podiums, but she's also had her mechanical gremlins, the way she got took out in one of the opening races of the season as well at the start. She then converted that into a victory, of course, but that DNF really costing her as far as winning this championship is concerned. We'll never know where she could have finished in that particular race. But now Antonella Bassani goes into this one knowing that it's going to be a tough race to the flag. But by my mathematics, she's got 3 laps to go, not 2 laps to go. There's the all-female crew that supports and manages Antonella Bassani. They're watching her progress. They know that all she can do is go out there and win the race. Everything else that happens in the championship fight is out of her hands. But the pressure to make a mistake for both Miguel Mariotti and Antonella Bassani must be gargantuan. Asifel Benito hustling the man in P4, Leonardo Herrmann. It's going to be a tough one all the way. Down to the braking zone, turn in, right-hander, then into the left flowing hairpin on the approach to Bico de Pato. Bico de Pato, for Portuguese listeners will know. For everybody else, Bico de Pato is literally translated into the term duck bill, as that is pretty much exactly where we are on that particular configuration of the circuit. Does look like a bit of a duck bill. Asifel Benito under some serious pressure, as that is Geração Campos trying to run around the outside. Lightning McQueen is looking a little bit vulnerable on the exit, and Geração Campos is going to get ahead of Asifel Benito. So through into 5th place. But Asifel Benito isn't quite giving up yet. He's going to run side by side. He's hoping to get a bit of a side draft as they go down the straight. He has got a better run. And Asifel Benito looks like he's going to break later into the hairpin. Can he get the move? He has to let Geração Campos go. It was a good effort up to that point, but Geração Campos had him very much nailed. And that is that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time is up. So now we've got this lap and then the next one, and then the season is over. The Porsche Sprint Challenge has come down to the wire again, as it did in Porsche Carrera Cup, across all 3 categories. But it's a fabulous defensive tactician in 3rd position at the moment. Miguel Mariotti holding on in front of Leonardo Herrmann. He knows exactly where to place the car so that it's Herrmann that's going to make the mistakes. And of course, he is currently running in 4th position to prove the point, Leonardo Herrmann. But he would dearly love to get onto the overall top 3. Staying in 4th place will put him on the podium, of course, in the Porsche Sprint Challenge paddock. It's the top 5 drivers in the race that come away with the trophies. But as Antonella Bassani squirts on the throttle once again up the hill and charges across the line, she is about to begin the final lap of the season in the hope that something dramatic enough happens to Miguel Mariotti that it becomes academic. So far, though, Leonardo Herrmann. Oh, is that Herrmann in front? I think that's Herrmann in front of Mariotti now. So Herrmann did get in front of Mariotti. And so Mariotti just deciding to let him go, I guess. 4th position will do quite nicely. Either that or he's having some problems on the brakes. As we ride on board with him. That looked a little bit tricky, but at the same time relatively controlled. As Antonella Bassani leads more. Then Herrmann, then Miguel Mariotti. This is the Ultima Volta, the final lap. And what a season. So much tension, so much excitement and drama throughout this year. But it's going to be Antonella Bassani that signs off from 2024 as a race winner. But sadly, she will not sign out as the back-to-back double champion of the Porsche Challenge Brazil. She's worked incredibly hard. The team have been fantastic to support her all the way through this season. I actually think in terms of her pound-to-pound victories and her cunning nature as a racing driver, this has actually been a better technical season for her than winning the championship was last year. She's put herself into a lot more dangerous positions. She's put herself into the pressure cooker, and she's not bubbled over at any point over the season. She's actually driven better, in my opinion, than she did last year. But what a way to finish the season in a crowd full of men. When everybody says women can't race, you can shut up now. Here comes Antonella Bassani. She wins the final race of the season at Interlagos, doing everything she can in full Felipe Massa mode. Christian Moore is 2nd, 3rd is Leonardo Herrmann, and 4th is the new Sprint Challenge champion. Miguel Mariotti has done enough to become champion. A fantastic end to the season as the family celebrates Miguel Mariotti's success. A great end to the season as the Grand 7 crew celebrate their champion. Miguel Mariotti is the champion for 2024. It was a tough effort and a great drive from Antonella Bassani, and she deserved the win, but it wasn't to be. She couldn't quite convert it into the championship title. She needed a miracle for Mariotti, but Mariotti was not going to buckle under the pressure. A great season for Miguel Mariotti. It's not always been perfect, but when the chips were down, he needed to bring home the results, and he has done just that. Miguel Mariotti comes over the finish line to finish in 4th place, and this is what it means to him when he comes through as the new Porsche Brazil Sprint Challenge champion. Antonella Bassani, a very valiant race winner though, and very exciting to see her take the win. But Miguel Mariotti's crew and family get to celebrate at last. Great job from Antonella Bassani. Great race from Christian Moore. That's almost been completely unmentioned, really. But in 2nd place and well clear of the rest of the pack. But we have a new champion. His name, Miguel Mariotti. I don't think he can get back to his crew fast enough. And of course, being 4th position means he does get to stand on the podium, in contrast to Marcel Muller in the Carrera Cup Championship race earlier on. But Miguel Mariotti becomes the Sprint Challenge champion in the Porsche Carrera Cup paddock in Brazil in 2024. Great drive, great performance. And so Miguel Mariotti will actually be the first one back. He doesn't want to wait for this party to start. 4th in the race, but he comes through as the new champion. For the record, I'm trying to do the maths, but Leonardo Herrmann won the race in the sport category by finishing 3rd overall, ahead of Alcifel Benito and Matias Roque, with Caio Chavez 4th. So I don't think that's enough for Caio Chavez to become champion. We'll double check and confirm it, but I think it actually goes to the man who failed to finish the race initially, Cherio Brasil. But listen to the euphoria in pit lane as Miguel Mariotti celebrates with his family and his crew. That is a wonderful, wonderful scene to be welcome to. Everyone you love and cherish, banging your windshield, enjoy. Miguel Mariotti is the new Sprint Challenge champion in Brazil in the Porsche Carrera Cup paddock 2024. And Antonella Bassani is the race winner. No one can take that away from her. She left nothing to doubt. She came so close to becoming champion for the 2nd year in a row. And what a way to end it. For Antonella Bassani, she can hold her head high. She may have missed out on the championship title, but she won it her way. Mariotti celebrates as champion. Bassani celebrates as race winner. Lovely scenes everywhere you look. Very deserving for Antonella Bassani to win. What a shame it couldn't happen in front of the Formula One crowd, though. That would have made it even more sweet for Antonella Bassani. So I think at the end of the season, it is going to be bittersweet when Antonella Bassani looks back. Only a handful of points away from becoming champion and not getting her famous Interlagos victory win in front of the Formula One paddock. She deserved to do that. But that's fate, I suppose. That's motor racing. As Mick Jagger once said, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you might find you get what you need. And Antonella Bassani has done exactly that. She's got what she needed. A perfect, flawless drive. Pole position, fastest lap, led every lap, won the race. Antonella Bassani not only wins, but picks up the Grand Slam in the last race of the year. Caio Chavez was already the rookie champion, and we're fairly sure that Cherio Brasil has just become the sport champion. We'll confirm it shortly. But Miguel Mariotti had all the pressure in the world. He decided in the end to let Leonardo Herrmann go. That was probably a very sensible decision in the long term. Well, what a dramatic start to this race we had in the sport category with the two championship leaders, Cherio Brasil and Seba Malucelli, retiring on the first lap, effectively, of this race with too much damage for Brasil to continue and Malucelli out on the spot. Both drivers will be pretty livid, I would think, with Sadok Leiter. Although on the replay, I think Malucelli would actually need to have a look at someone else who started that all for him, namely Matthias Roque, I do believe. But there were great races all around, and there were some fantastic displays. And once again, we're going to have 3 podiums in Challenge, in Sport, and in Rookie. But don't forget, the rookie drivers are also part of the Sport category. So the top 5 in Sport are actually going to be Leonardo Herrmann, Alcifer Benito, Matthias Roque, Caio Chavez, and Sanko Kim. And in Rookie, the winner was Alcifer Benito in front of Caio Chavez, Vania Pontes, Claudio Reina, and Eric Santos. But it will be Antonella Bassani that goes to the top step of the podium. And Caio Chavez just misses out on appearing on all 3 podiums. As Caio Chavez was 8th overall. He'll be on 2 podiums because he'll be on the top 5 for both the rookie category as well as the sport category. But a truly fantastic drive from Alsu Feldman Nito. He put a lot of pressure on Leonardo Herrmann through that race. A shame that he didn't really get much of a chance to go for it, because in the end, of course, he was overtaken by Gerson Campos. Leonardo Herrmann was absolutely determined to get ahead of Miguel Mariotti, to the point where Mariotti had clearly decided in his own mind, look, in this category, 5 drivers go to the podium. As long as I win the championship, I don't really care where I finish. And once those sown seeds were in position, it was pretty much easy pickings. So the category will wrap up for the season after the following 3 podium ceremonies in Sprint, Challenge, in Challenge Sport, and in Challenge Rookie. There's the move from Leonardo Herrmann, the very last lap, deciding that he was actually going to finish the job. And that was a very deserving podium. But this racer, Antonella Bassani, is your winner today at Interlagos. It's a missed opportunity that it wasn't in front of the Formula 1 paddock, but she won the race by 4.8 seconds, even with a safety car. Christian Moore second from Leonardo Herrmann, Miguel Mariotti, Gerson Campos, and Elsie Feldman-Nito, who wins the rookie race. Matthias Roque, Caio Chavez, Sanko Kim, and Andre Rosario. Spare a thought for Caio Chavez, narrowly missing out on winning the Sport Championship title as well as the rookie. Giuliano Bertuccelli 11th in front of Vania Pontes. From Claudio Reina, Eric Santos, Luis Souza, Fernando Arruda is the last one home. Retirements for Cherio Brasil, Caio Castro, Seba Malucelli, and Sadok Leiter. But the champions are confirmed: Miguel Mariotti, Cherio Brasil, and Caio Chavez. The Challenge, the Sport, and the Rookie titles. So despite retiring from the race, Cherio Brasil did do enough to become the champion. The podium ceremony, as Miguel Mariotti lifts his trophy in 4th position. It's enough for him to become the champion. 3rd place for Leonardo Herrmann, the man who beat him. A 2nd place finish for Christian Moore. But Antonella Bassani is the winner in Interlagos, and she deserves to be. Still only 19 years of age, so nearly back-to-back champion in the Porsche Sprint Challenge. But she lifts the victory trophy and sorts it out with the champagne spray as the drivers get busy with the fizzy. Bassani is on top, and she is the first to celebrate by soaking Miguel Mariotti. Just as well, they've got 2 days before qualifying for the Endurance Challenge. Those overalls are going to need to be laundried. But a very happy and very excited Antonella Bassani taking the victory. Thoroughly deserved. She ends her championship campaign her way. What a result for Antonella Bassani, and that sets her up full of confidence going into the weekend in the Endurance Challenge when she says shares her car with two teammates, not just Leticia Buffoni, who she shared her car with on 2 occasions at Portugal and at Argentina, but they'll also be joined by Cecilia Rebello, the F4 Brazil race winner. So there's plenty to get excited about for them this weekend. The ladies will be charging forward. So Antonella Bassani has won at least one of the races this week. Can they get the job done on Saturday? As Antonella Bassani will team up with Leticia Buffoni and Cecilia Rebello. It'll be a fascinating challenge. Now for the top 5 drivers in the sport category. In 5th, Sang Ho Kim. In 4th, the rookie champion, Caio Chavez. In 3rd place, it is the very talented Matthias Roque. In 2nd place, Alci Feldman-Nito in his Lightning McQueen overalls. For the top spot, to Leonardo Herrmann, 3rd overall, and the race win in sport. A great race from Leonardo Herrmann, one of his best, I would say. Yes, his first attempt, he did exactly what everybody expected him to do, which was to overshoot the corner and miss out on the overtake. But it was a truly fantastic comeback from Leonardo Herrmann. Realised that Miguel Mariotti had a lot more to lose than he did. So forced him to the edge of what he could achieve. And Herrmann got the moves right when it was needed to be. An excellent run from the Coppert Porsche driver. Hustling his opponents all the way. And when there have been races this year when he's almost looked out of touch and beyond his own abilities, he calmed his act down for this one, and a very deserving victory in the sport category, and 3rd overall awaited him. Good way to end off on his season. But Celio Brasil sat on the sidelines with his closest rival, Seba Malucelli. It is actually Celio Brasil that lifts the championship title, despite retiring from the race on only lap 3. The final podium ceremony of the season then, and it's the rookies for the last time. A great performance from our 5 rookies in the 5 positions on the podium. Eric Santos, P5. Claudio Reina, P4. Vanier Pontes in 3rd. 2nd place for Caio Chavez, the new champion. But the victor, Alci Feldman-Nito. And a very good race it was too. P6 for him in the end. It could easily have been P5. But on this particular occasion, Gerson Campos wanted that P5 a little bit more. And so for the last time, the boys in Brazil get busy with the fizzy in the Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil rookie category. And Alci Feldman-Nito ends his year on the top step of the rookie podium. Of course, all 5 of these drivers now become ineligible to be rookies in 2025. So it'll be fascinating to see what they do when they move up to the sport category. Well, a little bit of rusties does indeed go a long way, certainly for this man, Alci Feldman-Nito, who ditches his traditional number 1 for the number 95, very appropriately enough. A great season then for Alci Feldman-Nito, who gets to finish in fine style. It's been a truly fantastic pair of races. It may have been an 11-day weekend, and okay, race 2 should have been in front of the Formula 1 crowd. It wasn't to be today, but we certainly did get 6 very worthy champions, and what a fantastic end to the season. Your Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil champion is Miguel Mariotti. Your Porsche Carrera Cup champion is the one, the only, Marcel Müller. And if you thought that was all the racing you're going to get from Porsches this week in Interlagos, think again. We're back on Friday for the Endurance Challenge qualifying, and then on Saturday, it will be the race itself, and that will be a very long race. 2 and 3 car crews battling it out for the Endurance Challenge title. It's going to be a great end to the season. Make sure you're with us on Motorsport TV on Friday and Saturday. We'll get some great qualifying and some great racing under our belts here at Interlagos one more time. From me, Jake Sanson, and the whole crew, thank you very much indeed for watching. We now have 6 champions across the 2 championship classes, but on Saturday and Sunday, we're going to have a bit of a party. Friday is the qualifying, Saturday is the race, Sunday is when they can all finally celebrate after a very long season. I'm Jake Sanson, thanks for watching. We'll see you again on Friday for qualifying.